Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Network podcast, brought to you by PlayNFC.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Park MGM in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are here at the NFFC live draft event. Anthony Maggio here, along with my partner, Jeffrey Stein. Jeff, how you doing?
Oh, it's been a long weekend. It's been a great weekend, but a long weekend. I think you can probably see the bag under both of our eyes right now. But we said the best for last. The big one, $20,000, the biggest draft the NFFC offers, one of the biggest drafts that you can probably find anywhere. $20,000 per entry. They're in the room across from us right now, bidding on draft spots. They're bidding fab dollars, so each team gets 1,000 fab dollars to pick up free agents each year, and they bid the fab dollars to see who gets to pick up, or excuse me, who gets to bid where. So you get the first pick, you get less money to spend on the waiver wire. So it's a cool way to do it. And what you see on the screen right now is going to change here in a few minutes once the draft gets going. That's not the correct draft order. We'll update it and have it correct for you.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll refresh that screen as soon as they're done. We can hear Greg auctioneering as we speak off in the room in front of us here. But yeah, it's really been, it's been a fun week. Like you said, a long week with a ton of drafts. I mean, how many do we have today live? I think
around 20, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. No, today was the big day. Today there was like 6 or 7 at one time to start. So yeah, 20, 25, 30. Again, I've lost count. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, and we're here, so it's obviously Saturday evening here. We've already had 2 games underway. So I actually got here Wednesday. You were here last week for drafts. And so what we've seen is of course, season opener with Dallas and Philly. And then, of course, last night we saw the Chargers upset the Chiefs. One of the few things I've gotten right this week here in Vegas with my investments was the Chargers straight up there. So that was fun. But yeah, so that obviously impacts how things go here in these drafts, because you can draft players from those games. You can start players in your lineup from those games after the fact. You can also choose to sit them on the bench. In fact, today, when we were doing the charity draft for the V Foundation with Tom Everett, Scott was up there. He was one of the folks who he actually came up to me during the draft and asked, "Hey, if I take Xavier Worthy, I don't have to start him, right?"
Yeah, correct.
It's like, yeah, you're good there, man. So take him at value, but we still don't honestly know how bad that shoulder injury is. But what have you noticed just in the drafts these last couple of days as we've gotten actually a little bit more information? And then how people responded to that in these draft rooms?
Well, you mentioned the Worthy one. That's probably the biggest news. It's the fall he's taken. It's bumped up Hollywood Brown. Even people are thinking, Rashee Rice, it's helped his value out because he's going to own that wide receiver room once he gets back from his suspension. So that's been a big one. The Thornton guy, Tyquan Thornton, he had a couple deep balls. I hadn't seen him gone in many drafts all off season long. All of a sudden, that's a thing. And these Chargers, Keenan Allen, man, he looked good in that offense. Obviously, the touchdowns, the touchdown, Quentin Johnson with the 2 touchdowns, Justin Herbert going off. I think a lot of people were kind of off the Chargers after they lost their left tackle. But it really helped those 2 wide receivers. On the flip side, Lad McConkey, people are kind of wondering what this is going to do to him. He didn't have a terrible game, but I don't think he's going to get fed the targets like he was at the end of last season. So it's been a weird one. And the Thursday game, not as much. We've seen some Javonte Williams move up a little bit, but for the most part, that game hasn't done too much. A.J. Brown, I think, is the biggest story coming out of that game. His lack of targets, his lack of production, but he's still going round 3 in a lot of these. I'll be interested to see where the big guns take him tonight.
Yeah, the A.J. Brown one is interesting because it's, same story as it was last year, right? Where there are games where the wide receivers just don't get involved. Devonta Smith only had 3 fantasy points in that game as well. Dallas Goedert was the leading receiver, among that pass catching core. It may have actually been John Dotson with the most yards. So it's like we've seen that out of the Eagles in the past, and so that risk was a little bit baked in for those guys. But yeah, to your point with the last night's game, Hollywood Brown is somebody who was kind of looked at as a sleeper. Like, okay, he's had wide receiver 1 caliber seasons in the past. It's been a while just because, of course, he did that with the Ravens. Then he spent years hurt with the Cardinals, you know, and an underachieving offense. And so, you know, one of those guys where in a draft like this, yeah, I think I saw him up in maybe the 8th round a couple of times.
Yeah, I think he might even snuck 6-7 in a couple.
Yeah,
so,
yep.
Again, it will be interesting to see where he ends up in tonight's Platinum draft.
Yeah, I'm going to refresh here just to see if that draft order is fully set.
We're good to go.
We're good to go
yes,
here.
Sir.
Excellent, excellent. So, yeah, the Thornton one actually is one more interesting to talk about because I actually heard somebody in the hall after one of the drafts saying, yeah, that's not a guy he would normally take in, but it's like late in the draft when you're just trying to plug a spot for 1 week. That's the type of player you can grab, you know, and put in a lineup if you need to at a flex spot in a, you know, a deeper 14-team type of league situation in a flex spot. So, yeah, I'll be curious if he's somebody who ends up going here tonight in this one where we're just minutes away.
Started. we got the draft board up. This is the correct draft order you're seeing now. Chad Schrader. Anyone that knows anything high stakes knows Chad's name. Number 1 pick, so he bid number 1. It'll be interesting to see if that's Jamar Chase that he takes there. Maybe it won't be. Then again, we've been watching a lot of these drafts all weekend long. The Platinum isn't part of an overall. There's no grand prize that you're competing with other leagues. This is a single league. So this is a league I think we're going to see a lot of guys bumped up. This is get your guys here. This isn't worrying about having to beat out, you know, 1,000 other people in the overall. This is beating the other 11 people in this league. So you're going to see some very, very interesting picks. You're going to see some min picks on a lot of these guys. You're going to see some max picks on a lot of these guys. It's going to be a fun watch. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I really like that too. It is that kind of no holds barred type of situation, man. It's like you've got to get your guy. This is not a league where you're waiting for that sleeper to fall to you. There's too much knowledge in that room, too many sharps for you to get too cute or get too sneaky. So you go and you get your guy.
Exactly right. If you want him, you better get him. You better get him early because thinking he's going to sneak past these other 11 guys is not happening in the Platinum.
I'll be curious to see where Christian McCaffrey goes in this one because we saw some drafts even on Wednesday where McCaffrey was going ahead of Barkley.
Yeah.
And, you know, in that middle early part of the first round. And then, of course, the calf injury reared its ugly head again here in these last couple of days. Now, he is, as of today, the news was he is going to play in tomorrow's game. So I'll be curious if he moves because we basically have seen him now kind of middle of the second round since that news broke as opposed to middle of the first round. So I wonder if he creeps back up in this situation, knowing he's going to play.
And I know you and I, you know, we just put $20,000 randomly all the time. So taking a gamble on a Christian McCaffrey, I mean,
right?
Yeah, well, that would be a lot for me. But again, I think 20,000 to these guys is a little less than it is to you and I.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could do it personally. But someone is going to, and it may pay off for them in a big way.
Yeah, this is a group of guys that can handle the swings at the craps table a little bit better than I can.
I heard you had some swings at the craps table
I did,
what I heard.
I did, yeah. It's been the last couple of nights. The swing's been mostly moving downwards, which is weird. So
funny how that happened.
Yes, sir. So we've still got drafts finishing up to our left here today as folks get ready to watch now the big 20K Platinum draft. So it is, you know, even folks who aren't involved in this like to stick around and watch just because, of course, their buddies are in there and they just want to see in this situation, to your point again, where you're not competing with 1,000 people. You know, you're not trying to advance just beyond your league and then have to take on the champions of other leagues. Like this is it. It's basically your standard home league with just a whole lot of money on it.
That's a standard home league if you multiply it infinite times over. But again, like you said, there's an audience forming here to watch this. This is just a cool thing. This is your first NFFC, correct?
Yes, it is.
And I mean, the camaraderie is great. Everyone's friends here. And again, I'll bring it on camera. They plenty of beer for everyone, plenty of drinks. The audience, all the beer they can drink in there while they watch this happen. So if you're watching and thinking about coming out next year, I would highly suggest it. And as a first timer, would you as well?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun to see when folks walk up and down the hallway here and see somebody they haven't seen in a year since the last draft, handshakes, hugs, how you doing? A lot of BS and talking smart in the hallway. Like these are guys out there that, have been doing this year after year after year. But then you see new folks come in too, and get welcomed in with open arms. I think that's been something really interesting that I've enjoyed seeing is those folks, the new folks come in and, the even the Hall of Famers saying, hey, how's it going? Welcome. You're part of the club. Right. And it's just really, really exciting. So speaking of very exciting,
we're starting.
We are starting our first pick off the board. No surprise. I mean, Jamar Chase has pretty much been the unanimous number 1 overall pick in most of these. I don't know if I've seen anyone else besides Chase go 1. Have you seen?
Yeah, not off the top of my head. On the online stuff I've done, but out here, no, it's been mostly Chase.
So here, I mean, this is where
Here's
things get really interesting right off the top. Again, get your guy. Jamar Gibbs ain't coming back on the other side of the snake here. So if you want him, you've got to get him early. And going number 2, I've seen Gibbs ranked by some experts as the number 1 overall running back. And so there's, obviously there's some agreement here with him being the first running back off the board. We see Bijan Robinson go 3rd, and what was that? CeeDee Lamb
and this is
4th. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. This has kind of been the 2, 3, 4, even 5 most of the weekend. I think the 6 is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. I think. I'm guessing Justin Jefferson here. Yep, Justin Jefferson. But now here we go. Your neighbors, Brian Thomas. I wouldn't even be surprised. Yeah, Amon-Ra. I wouldn't even be surprised to see a Drake London move up here. He's been the kind of a favorite of a lot of these high stakes guys this year. So with neighbors it is.
Neighbors it is, right? He's getting the volume, and he got the volume with bad quarterbacks last year, and he's got maybe better ones this year.
Maybe.
With Amon-Ra St. Brown, I mean, that feels like a really safe pick here. The only thing I'm interested to see with this Detroit team is they lost 7 coaches off that coaching staff. So how does that impact the way that offense works?
As a Michigan man, inside the interior offensive line is a little different too.
Yeah.
And, one thing about Jared Goff is he doesn't like to be harassed. You get in his face, he's a whole other quarterback. So if they have any issues there, things could go the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we saw Brian Thomas go off the board after Amon-Ra, and then to your point, Drake London's been working his way up. He's been sort of consistently back end of the first round, with this group. Nico Collins. I think I've seen that order. London Collins for the most part, as opposed to the other way around, which I found interesting. Nico Collins being a guy that I've seen in some of my home leagues be very popular, even somebody who's been taken ahead of Brian Thomas. Not so much Amon-Ra, but yeah, we're starting to see, like you said, there's these groupings of players that you see, and it's like, in what order will they go in that 1 through 6, then in the 7 through 10, 11 range.
And we talked about how people jump players in this specific draft, and so far it's been pretty chalky, pretty steady of kind of how we've seen it out here. You mentioned London, a little higher than usual, but now this is where it gets really interesting. You mentioned McCaffrey. Where is he going to go?
Yeah.
Your Brock Bowers, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go here pretty soon. It's just getting fun. Mike Santos, Kirk, two of my two. Here we go. Speaking of get your guy, Chase Brown. I seen him go round 8, or excuse me, overall pick 8 in round 1 earlier in the draft. So not a surprise, but again, here we go, getting your guys. Chase Brown's obviously not going to be there at the start of round 3 with the 3rd round reversal. So,
right.
They got their guy, and I don't think I can argue against it. I'm a big Chase Brown guy this year. Yourself?
Yeah, you know what? I'm curious to see what that offense does with Taj Brooks, but we saw Chase Brown really take that role and run with it. Pardon the pun, him being a running back, but it was just something where he was able to.
Here we go. Get your guy.
Yeah, Ted McMillan. I mean, that is, I would not have guessed him going over like a Brock Bowers, like you said. But that's one where I'd be curious on the reversal if he would have made it back. Of course, we'll never know. But
we're not going to find out.
Yeah, as somebody who has in an Empire League took Ted McMillan a little early, that pick actually makes me feel a little better about some of the things
start spending those winnings. Start spending those winnings.
Ashton Genty and then Derrick Henry off the board. The no Vegas homerism here with the Genty. That's about where he's been going. So I think that's solid. So I'll be curious where and Puka Nacua. I actually talked to one of the Chris, one of the Hall of Famers here earlier today about Puka Nacua, because just a guy I really like as a ball player. I'm a little nervous with Matt Stafford's back situation. He's been kind of a wide receiver kingmaker over the course of these last several years. And so if it has to be Jimmy G, can Puka still do what he does? We'll see.
I'd rather not be relying on Jimmy Garoppolo in a $20,000 league. I don't.
Yeah, cheers to that. Cheers to that. Josh Jacobs, we just saw go off the board there. And now they're the Lad McConkey.
Yeah.
So we've gotten two, let's see, we're halfway through now the second round, and we have two wide receiver starts. Everybody else has gone one of each. And of course, with the second half here to go. But yeah, not deterred by Lad McConkey's usage in that first game. In fact, maybe heartened by the fact that so many touchdowns were thrown. Justin Herbert was going to the air in a game where they could have tried to be conservative and milk the clock and run the ball. A lot of passes, high percentage passes, basically saying we're going to go out and win this game, not let Kansas City try to, sneak their way back in. So,
and all season long, Jim Harbaugh talked up Justin Herbert and how Hall of Famer and future Hall of Famer and how it's my fault if he's not. And I think, that kind of shows. I think maybe it shows a change in philosophy of the not ground and pound that they so heavily relied on last year. And man, so far, I think it's hard to argue against what you've seen in that first game. That passing attack looked very, very good.
Yes, it did. And I see we got 270 folks online with us right now. So thank you all for joining us here live at Park MGM. This has been just such a fun time, a fun week. Being like Jeff said, my first time out here. So really enjoying getting to know these guys and seeing all this happen, and excited for the future events as T. Higgins goes off the board here. I saw a draft earlier today where the Higgins got to the end of round 2, and I can't recall who it was who was drafting, but he took Chase and Higgins. Later, he got Gesicki. I think he started 5 straight. Well, he did not get Burrow. Which I was interested.
All throughout drafting season, that's been like one of the more popular stacks you've seen at the one slot is the Chase, Higgins round 2, Burrow at the end of round 3. That's been quite popular. And I talked to a couple of people. Someone was sitting at the 2 hole. I apologize if they're watching. I can't remember who I was talking to, but they had the number 2 pick, and the number 1 team had Chase and Higgins. Mm-hmm. And they said they really debated taking Burrow, and they said maybe I let the rest of the league down by not blocking them from Burrow.
But you didn't want to take that bullet for everybody else.
He didn't. That's exactly what I said. I said you got to worry about you. I've never been a big believer in worrying about what the other teams are doing. You got to worry about your team first and foremost.
Yeah, I agree with you. We got the legend Tom walking by, resting his voice tonight with his delicious ice cream treat, and very, very jealous. I get one of those afterwards. So we saw Jonathan Taylor go. So again, look at all of the wide receiver, running back 1, 2.
Yeah, that's interesting to me in this day and age of zero running back.
Yeah, but here we go. So Christian McCaffrey gets almost to the end of the second round with Bijan Robinson paired up. I mean, you could have the 1 and 2 running backs feasibly there, which is an interesting and could be very, very strong start. But
we talked. But we talked about how this is an overall. But I bet in our overall competitions, there's not a lot of teams that started Bijan Robinson and Christian McCaffrey. So if you got this start, if you would have told, this is Glenn Schroeder picking team 3, if you would have told him a week ago you're about to get Bijan Robinson and Christian McCaffrey in the $20,000 league, I think he would have called that in a heartbeat. Yes, give that to me.
Yes.
So if McCaffrey's healthy, you've got to like that start.
Yeah, and so now we saw Kyron Williams just go, and so now there's actually just as many 2 running back start teams as there are 2 wide receiver start teams.
Which is incredibly interesting, the way fantasy football has gone over the last couple of years. But we're about to see wide receivers go hot and heavy there, I think.
Yes.
I'm guessing round 3 here.
I think you're right.
And again, kind of interesting to me, Brock Bowers by this point. I've seen him go at the end of round 1 in a couple of drafts this weekend. So people are holding off there.
Yeah, this would be about the time I would expect him to go. And now we've actually surpassed 300 viewers. So that's exciting. We're up at 303. Thank you all for joining us. This is a lot of fun. Glad to have you here on a Saturday night in Las Vegas as Devon Achane comes off the board. So with McCaffrey and then Achane 2 picks later, it's again the high risk, high reward just based on current injury situations. But
exactly.
Yeah, with Achane in that offense, he could be a target monster. Just there, I don't know. I don't necessarily expect the Dolphins to be good this year. In fact, I would be surprised if they're really good. But that doesn't mean Achane can't just be gobbling up checkdowns from Tua, as long as Tua, of course, can stay upright.
Sure. And anytime he has the ball in his hands, he's a threat to take it to the house.
Yep.
An incredible player. And again, NFFC 3rd round reversal. So just to point out to viewers that may not be familiar with our format, Team 12 is back on the clock here. This isn't snaking around. This is the only round that happens. Jackson Smith and Jigba. We talked about the wide receivers getting ready to go hot and heavy. I think this is the start of it. We'll have to see here, but Smith and Jigba. And
there's the Bowers.
There's Bowers.
That must be close to about the latest he's gone in these. I don't know that I've seen him go past round 2.
No, I agree. I agree. I haven't seen much round 3 Brock Bowers. And again, there's another color that's missing on this board, and that's pink, the quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see where they go in this single league. I'm guessing they go a lot later than we've seen them go most of the weeks in the overall competition. So here we go. Oh, there's our guy Henderson. So we've gotten 2 receivers, a tight end, and a running back so far. And you got to like that for the team that started with the 2 wide receivers. Travion Henderson, he's been a guy all offseason long that's just shot up draft boards in a huge way. This is about where he's gone out here all weekend, early round 3. I think I've seen him sneak to early round 4 in a couple of drafts. But interesting start. I like what Team 9 is doing.
Yeah, I was going to mention here before we get to this McBride pick, Team 11 here. I don't have my readers. I'm getting too old for staring at my screen here. But he started with 2 of his first 3 picks are Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
So interesting. I'll be curious if now, you see later, as a quarterback too, if like Geno Smith ends up somebody that they end up taking, because of course you're at that point, you're really invested in the Raiders offense. You expect big things. Otherwise you don't take both Genty, and Bowers.
At the very least, he has to stop at the team shop on the way out of town and get a Raiders t-shirt for the $20,000 league, right?
I think you're right about that. I was pretty close to getting a Bo Jackson jersey this week out there. I had to go the Walter Payton. I should have worn the Payton for this tonight, but sorry, we had to match. So interesting. Now I was mentioning we want to talk about McBride. So I haven't seen Bowers and McBride that close within 3 picks of each other. And then now we see Kittle 2 picks after. So we only have a 5-pick difference between Brock Bowers and George Kittle.
Yeah, that hasn't been – that's the first time I've seen that all year. That's online drafts. That's out here.
Yeah.
And again, this is get your guys. And that's what team number 6 is doing here. He's getting his guy, George Kittle. And again, with the shape of that wide receiver core is in, who knows what Ricky Pearsall is going to be. Ayuk's dinged up. Heck, if McCaffrey's hurt, Kittle's going to be fed. I'm a huge Kittle fan this year. That close to McBride and Bowers, I haven't seen it, but do I think it's wrong? And the answer is no.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. We see Cortland Sutton go off the board here. So as I'm looking through right now, we only have 1 team that is all wide receivers to start with, and that's the Neighbors, McConkey, and was that Garrett Wilson that went?
Yes, sir.
3? So
yes,
interesting couple of New York receivers there with Neighbors and Wilson. I haven't gotten a lot of Wilson myself this year, not because I don't think he's a talented receiver. It's just because we haven't seen it with Justin Fields throwing him the ball in this obviously new Jets regime. And so I've just kind of been letting others take that and been willing to take the L on him if I'm wrong. So we'll see. But that, he's certainly high draft capital on a team that already had 2 wide receivers. So there's obviously a lot of belief there from Team 7.
And we talked about it before the draft started about the Kansas City wide receiver situation. I think this is where you would have seen Rashee Rice without suspension. He probably would have been around 2.
Oh, yeah.
This is where you would have seen Xavier Worthy. This is where he was going before the shoulder injury. So I'm thinking you're seeing a lot of buy up on a lot of these receivers. The position gets extremely, extremely thin. So a guy like Wilson, it makes sense to me why he shot up at this point, why he shot up in this draft, and it's not too far away from where we've seen him go this weekend.
Yeah, and then you had mentioned we hadn't seen any pink on the board yet. We just had back-to-back with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Those 2, it's really been, it seems like kind of a coin flip as to who goes first with these drafts this week. Have you seen anything different there?
It's around there, yeah. The interesting one's going to be to see if Burrow goes here to Team 1. To see if he stacks them up with Chase. That's going to be interesting to me. We'll see. But Jackson, Allen, they've all been in the same general area. Like you said, it's preference. I don't think there's a wrong answer to it.
Right. Mike Evans goes there at the end of the 3rd round. I am a big Mike Evans guy. I mean, so long as he can stay healthy. I like what they've obviously done in that offense with Tampa, and him and Baker have a lot of rapport in that red zone. So that's what you like to see.
There's no doubt about it. And again, we're talking the wide receiver position getting thin. Mike Evans at the end of round 3, that wasn't a thing when we started doing drafts and March and April and May. But again, as the positions thinned out, as people kind of dig deeper and deeper into it, Evans has shot up the board. The reliability of it all. Future Hall of Famer. You can't go wrong with Mike Evans. You pretty much know what he's going to give you.
Yeah, that start. I mean, with Chase and Evans, two of the most reliable wide receivers, and then the kind of wild card at running back, and that's it. It's actually an interesting way to kind of think about that. And there you go. You see the Burrow pick there. And I do not have the ADPs for NFFC in front of me, but typically you're seeing the rushing quarterbacks like a Jaden Daniels, even Jalen Hurts, especially what he did on Thursday night, going ahead of Burrow. But again, once you've got a Chase, he didn't go Chase Higgins like we talked about seeing elsewhere, but you've invested in Chase. You believe that offense is that Chase can do similar to what he did last year. And he can't do that without Joe Burrow being along for that ride.
No doubt, no doubt. So if that combo hits, he's in good shape in this $20,000 league.
Yep. Terry McLaurin off the board. He's somebody who I imagine you saw just a couple of weeks ago, much lower than this, just because of the contract situation. But now that that's resolved, no harm, no foul, I guess, when it comes to drafting.
Nope. Again, where he's been going lately, where he's been going all weekend here. I mentioned how I thought we were going to see a big wide receiver run there. That round 3 wasn't as wide receiver heavy as I thought it would be with the 3 tight ends and 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So, but right now we got 2. They call it the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road when these receivers start. And, we got 2 in a row here. I wouldn't be surprised to see another 2 or 3 come off the board next year.
Yeah, we're at that point where there's actually a pretty big tier where you can make a decent argument for 6, 7, 8 guys in any kind of particular order. We haven't seen Devontae Adams, of course, in this Los Angeles offense, but he's been a wide receiver 1 for a long time, and Matt Stafford knows how to get his guys the ball. So I certainly have high hopes for him in this, again, if Stafford can stay healthy.
James Cook, again, a guy that with contract issues behind him a little earlier, but that's about where he's been going. I like this start for Team 4, the yellow green. Nice balance there. He has the receivers. He has the running backs. And DJ Moore, again, a guy that kind of in this Adams, McLaurin tier. There's a couple other ones I think we'll see. I almost said Stephen Ridley. I'm thinking way back. I think we'll see Calvin Ridley.
It's been a really long week.
It's been a very long week. I think we'll see him go soon. He's, in this general tier. Jaden Daniels, I think we reached, you mentioned Hurts still out there, but this is kind of the top 5 of the quarterbacks. Jackson, Allen, Burrow, Daniels, Hurts.
Yeah, Team 6 there. Can't see who that.
Jefferson, Irving, Kittle.
Yeah, having the Kittle Daniels, getting those onesie positions, high end onesies, is really a good differentiator. Of course, you wind up scrambling later on potentially at the running back or wide receiver position. So I'll be really curious to see, especially in those late rounds, how he hammers those spots.
And just like we mentioned, Team 8, almost a similar build, exact similar build to Team 6. Yellow, green, blue, pink. Wide receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback. And again, you mentioned having a top tight end, having a top quarterback. He's there.
Yeah, I like the way that Team 8 is coming together so far. A lot of reliability without necessarily the need for touchdowns with your receivers, with guys like St. Brown and McBride. Heck, McBride, he couldn't find the end zone with a mat till the end of last year.
But he's going to catch 10 balls a game.
Exactly. And it's like that with Amon-Ra too, so long as that offense doesn't miss a beat with the coaching staff turnover. So yeah, I really like the stability. That's going to be a team that, so long as health, everybody stays healthy, I think that team's going to be competitive all year. AJ Brown going now. Now how many teams? That's the third team, with 3 wide receivers, with Brian Thomas, Puka Nacua, AJ Brown.
And that's an interesting one. Obviously, he's a guy that if he has even an average AJ Brown game, he's going round 2 in this.
Yeah.
But so I mean,
that's good value.
I can't argue against that at all. That might be the pick of the draft so far, in my opinion, just because people are. Again, but they don't want that one bad game. And again, 20,000, like we talk about how we'd have a hard time gambling if we had that amount on the line.
Right.
I can't blame people for not wanting to do it. But I mean, you talk about upside, you talk about a potential league winning pick. AJ Brown, what would you call it? The end of round 4?
Yeah.
That's a potential league winning pick right there.
I agree, because now, as long as you're going to prioritize a receiver, another couple of receivers here in the middle rounds, and you can reach a little bit on maybe a Keenan Allen, or late in the draft, a Thornton, like anybody, because you don't have to start AJ Brown
to get the week 1 points.
So you're fine with AJ Brown the fact that you got it's a bit of a cheat code, right? You don't have to start him this week. You don't have to take that one quote unquote bad game and then you go on and you play him in future weeks. So we had Breece Hall go, Kenneth Walker, and Kelvin, don't call me Steve Ridley to finish out round 4. I'm curious what your thoughts are on Breece Hall. He's the guy I had mentioned the Jets. I feel like I've gotten a lot of Justin Fields in my drafts this year, but really no other Jets. I've been taking him for the wheels, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, I'm in on Hall.
Okay.
Braylon Allen scares me.
Yeah,
but again, we're talking upside. That's a potential league-winning pick. He's a guy that was going, top 3 pick last year while we were sitting in here at the Park MGM. So again, it's hard to argue with the upside there. I know the offensive line's a little dinged up there. I know, I don't know how much help they're going to get from the passing game to open things up for him. Again, the young guy Hall behind him is a little bit scary, but there's no denying Breece Hall's talent. And again, he's a guy that last year at this time, people were walking out of here thinking they just won the league because they had Breece Hall. So at the end of round 4, give me that.
Yeah, Team 12 now in 5 picks has 4 wide receivers, 2 of which are rookies.
Yeah.
With Igbuka and McMillan. So,
very interesting.
This is one of those, sort of high risk, low floor, high ceiling type of teams so far right now. We'll see how it goes. I do like Calvin Ridley a lot, so long as, Cam Ward, I think, lives
very much in on Ridley.
Definitely bullish there. There should be plenty of tread left on those tires.
And just to bring it up, you and I have been doing this a long time.
Yes.
It used to be drafting a rookie wide receiver was the kiss of death. But I mean, over the years, though, it's changed quite a bit. These guys are more pro ready than ever. You look at what some of these guys coming in the league have done. Your Pukas of the world. I know Harrison kind of struggled a little bit last year, but a lot of these rookie wide receivers, again, Thomas, Neighbors, they killed it last year. They were league winners. So when you're getting your Bukas and your Tet McMillans, if they do anything similar to what Thomas and Neighbors did last year, Team 12 is looking really, really good.
Yeah, 20 years ago, it was the year 3 breakout.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And then 10 years ago, it was the year 2 breakout. And then now they're good. They're a rookie. Let's go.
Yeah, now if they stink their first game, career is over.
So we had George Pickens go with the 2nd pick there in the 5th round. DeAndre Swift, Travis Hunter. Another rookie.
I hate to cut you off, but Pickens, a guy that if he has even a decent game on Thursday night, he's a guy that's going in round 3 of this draft, most likely. So, again, hard to argue with the value there because if you can get someone to plug it in just for 1 week and you get what people thought Pickens was going to be before that Thursday game, that's one heck of a pick.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's some nice value there. DK Metcalf goes now, so that's kind of not surprising. I'm guessing in 2 picks here, Team 6, will probably see another wide receiver there, just because it's so far the grab bag, the one of each color. As Alvin Kamara goes, this is actually turning into a pretty nice balanced build for Team 7 with Hampton Kamara. In both of those cases, you've gotten bell cows, which you typically aren't going. I mean, Hampton, of course, we saw maybe a little bit more Najee than we thought a week ago we would have, but Hampton was the guy in the clutch that they were going to. And of course, Kamara, has, always commanded a lot of attention, both with in the receiving game and the rushing game. So by going with 3 receivers and then still getting 2 guys that you can trust on a week-to-week basis, you put them in the lineup and forget it. That's off to a nice start. And then like I just mentioned here, we thought the Team 6 would probably go with the receivers. So again, Team 6 and 8 are these mirror images kind of each other in the way they're constructing their lineups.
Yeah, very much so. And again, we've talked about the wide receiver tiers. Here we go. This is going to be the wide receiver round. What are we at now? 5 of the 7 picks so far. Well,
I mean, we've said that now for a couple of rounds, and it hasn't happened yet. So it's interesting in respect of everybody's like, okay, we feel like we can get wide receiver value later.
Yeah,
and we're going to reach for our guys, at running back. And so we just saw Chuba Hubbard go, and, right ahead of Jerry Jeudy. So, roster construction wise right now, we're looking at, we've got 2 teams with 4 wide receivers, 3 teams with 3 now 4 teams, with 3 wide receivers, and everybody else with 2, or is there anybody with 1? Nope. Now with that pick, those last 2 picks, everybody has at least 2 wide receivers, but Rashee Rice not going to be in a lineup for a little while.
No, he's not. We talked about pre-show or pre-draft of how his value is kind of skyrocketed. He's going to be the man once he's back with Worthy out now. He's going to be fed a ton. Can a team again though? Here we go. Looking at the roster build, he's not going to have Rice for a couple weeks or more than a few weeks. Terry McLaurin's going to have to carry the load at the receiver position. It'll be interesting to see what he does the rest of the way.
Yeah, if Jaden Daniels has a couple of Jalen Hurts-esque week one games, going to be hurting there. Probably starting a little behind the 8 ball for team 2. So now we're back to team 1. Started so far with Chase, Achane, Evans, and Burrow. What are your expectations here? What do you think? Going on one of each here with the running back receiver? Oh, Ricky Pearsall. Okay.
Pearsall, again, a guy that's caught a lot of steam over the last few weeks. I actually thought he'd be going higher than this in a lot of drafts this weekend. Seems like he's got a little bit of cold water doused on him. But, again, a guy that has shot up the draft boards all season long. I think he was around 8, round 9 guy when things started in the springtime. It's hard to argue with the potential upside there. For a number 3 wide receiver, you can give me Pearsall all day just from the breakout potential alone.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. We'll see what happens when Brandon Ayuk comes back later in the season and how that kind of reshuffles the deck. But yeah, especially if, McCaffrey ends up struggling, with that calf injury and they have to throw a little more. Thank you, Alex. They end up having to throw a little more. Then, Pearsall can end up being one of those guys that really helps him get out to a strong start. And then, people are chasing him as we go. So Jalen Waddle, and he's one that I've actually been surprised that he has not gone a little sooner. We saw Tyreek Hill go in round 3 and now Waddle the lead off round 6. I mean, I've got some concerns about Tyreek Hill. Just, it's not like he's, the head case. So he's a little bit, that's always kind of been there, but it seems to be rearing its head a little bit more lately. And of course, there's the wide receiver age cliff to worry about. So I think that Waddle pick could end up having a lot of value.
I'm a huge Waddle guy. I think he gets overshadowed quite a bit by the Achanes and the Hills of the world. He's not as flashy, but he's still a very solid player. And again, if Hill's not all the way back, I think Waddle. I think there's a potential Waddle could outproduce Hill this year. So to get him at the start of round 6 in a draft like this is a great pick. He's not going to hurt you. Jalen Waddle's never going to hurt you, and I still think there's quite a bit of upside there. And we kind of talked about the 3rd-year wide receiver thing, how it used to be. I kind of think he still has breakout potential. He's extremely talented guy. I don't think he's really reached his peak quite yet. So I'm in on Waddle this year.
So round 6 now is the round of guys moving up based on their Thursday or Friday performance, I guess, in the case of Hollywood Brown. But Javonte Williams with the 2nd pick of the 6th round. That is certainly not where he had been going prior to that Thursday night game. Odunze Diggs, that's probably about right for, what we've been seeing. But then Hollywood Brown, of course, like we talked about earlier, a former kind of top receiver that was coming into his own, and then injuries and the trade kind of derailed things. We saw him get, I want to say it was 15 or 16 targets in that game and caught 10 balls, I think 99 yards. Pat Mahomes is going to get that ball out. He's got to get it to somebody. And so it might be Hollywood here for 4 or 5 weeks.
And again, these guys know a million times more than I do. But I'm kind of surprised Team 2 didn't actually kind of look at handcuffing Rashee Rice with Hollywood Brown there. That might have made a little bit of sense to me. Get that week 1 points that you talk about that are also valuable. But it's hard to argue with the Javonte Williams 2 touchdowns as well.
Right. Yep. And, by having 3 running backs, there are, 3 teams now with 3 running backs. That might make it 4 I know he's only at 2 there. So by getting Javonte, you got Gibbs, Kyron Williams, and Javonte Williams. You can kind of wait now and just throw darts towards the end because you have 3 guys that you feel like you can trust. And I think that's exactly the same with Team 7 with the Hampton, Kamara, now Connor with 3 straight picks. When you go running back heavy like that, you're putting your eggs in that basket. You don't need, very much so. You don't need to be taking middle round shots on running backs because if they hit, you don't have anywhere to put them.
No.
Right. So
which is the absolute worst.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything worse than, and maybe it's just my picks, how bad I am at it personally, but there's nothing worse than when you have 4 good players and you got to pick 3 of them.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to make the wrong pick 100% of the time.
Yeah. I feel you on that.
So in a $20,000 league, I don't want to rely on my Sunday morning picks of who's going to go off that day.
Yeah. The coin flip. We've, speaking of having to make decisions, Team 9 now has the RJ Harvey. So Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey are the two running backs, both rookies that we have not seen what their usage is going to be yet. So there's a lot of trust being put right there. But then also Travis Hunter to make it 3 rookies out of 6 picks so far. Thank you to Alex, our bartender, for helping us out. No, I'm good for now. Thank you. Let's see, what was I saying here? Oh, and so now talking about, like I said, 3 rookies to rely on there. We'll see how that goes. So Deebo Samuel go and Keenan Allen. So that's a huge jump for Keenan Allen. That's actually a bigger jump for Keenan Allen than it is for Hollywood Brown, based on the 1-game sample size. But I don't know, But
you mentioned it earlier. I'm just gonna point out he has Pickens, so he has Allen that you can bench Pickens this week, and you got a great game from Keenan Allen, and Keenan Allen is a guy that, based on what I seen yesterday, he's going to be about round 6, maybe a little early, but maybe a round 7, round 8 type player. But just for this 1 week alone, that you can put him in there in the Pickens spot, and then have Pickens do George Pickens thing the rest of the year. Sign me up for that. I like that start.
Yep. And now we see Justin Herbert with the last pick of the 6th round, still just 1 running back for Team 12. So he's in a position now where if he doesn't, even if he does go running back with this next pick, you're still probably going to see 2 running backs in the next 3-ish rounds, just to make sure that you don't get left, with nothing left, with an empty bag of running backs there. So
real quick, Herbert, huge. I think that game yesterday shows he's going to be using his legs a lot more this year. And I think that's what's shooting him up. This is about where he's been going in drafts today after the game. And I think 100% of the jump doesn't have to do with Allen looking good, with Quentin Johnston looking good. I think it has to do with the fact that he ran the ball a ton yesterday, and that's going to be a factor for his game this year. That might not be quite to the level of the guys that we see go before him. But that's enough to put him over ahead of a Baker Mayfield or a Dak Prescott or someone else that's going to be at this level.
Yeah, to a large, to even widen that aperture a little bit, the play calling. Again, the trusting him to use his legs, but then not kind of boxing him in with the sort of conservative, what everybody else thinks they should do play calling. I think that first down throw to Disley on that last drive, I think just showed, you mentioned the Harbaugh, this guy, if Herbert's not a Hall of Famer, it's my fault. You're trusting your guy to make the right play. And it looked like Herbert may have even audibled on that one. He made a little hand motion before that. So that might've actually been on Herbert. But again, he has the trust of his coaching staff to make the right decision. And so, he's coming into his own here. Now, we didn't see Team 12 go running back. Actually went Sam Laporta there to get our first tight end in almost 4 rounds. Kittle in the middle of round 3 was the most recent tight end pick before Laporta. Laporta, of course, had a down year last year after such a strong rookie campaign. But then Pat Mahomes, speaking of guys, you mentioned Herbert using his legs. Mahomes never been scared of using his legs, but he seemed to use them a little more this last week than is typical. And he may need to do that more with the receivers.
I think he's going to have to, based on how his receiving core is shaping up. And even the running game didn't look the best. So there's going to be a lot of Mahomes scrambles. I think obviously if he had a healthy receiver core, he's going and he's running like that. He's going way ahead of Herbert, but people are worried about relying on the Hollywood Browns of the world to catch passes from him.
Right. I want to say thank you again to everybody joining us. We're at 486 as we speak here, joining us live. So it's a lot of fun. Glad to have all of you with us here tonight. So what do we miss here? Matthew Golden, Chris. Now we're getting the yellow brick road. Golden, Olave, Johnston, Myers. So it's happening a little later than we thought. And now Jordan Addison.
Here they come.
The Matthew Golden one, I feel like there's been this sort of steady drumbeat for him. He's gotten a little more moving up ADP. And then with the Jaden Reed news, I anticipate Jaden Reed to wind up on IR sooner than later. That's just based on what he's trying to play through.
Yeah, again, Golden, another preseason guy that's just shot up a ton. And I almost expect him to get a little earlier in this. There's all upside there. Again, we talked about it. Rookie wide receivers. You never want to count on them too much. But where he's at in round 7, can you really say he's going to be that much worse than Ibuka or even, Ted McMillan?
Right.
I think I like McMillan. I like Ibuka. I like Golden. But I like him there quite a bit.
Yeah, with that, the draft capital of a 7th rounder versus first round of the first pick of the 2nd round, excuse me. Yeah, ton of value, and he's the 4th wide receiver on that team too. So
yeah, and I think that's why you obviously see the McMillans of the world. Why McMillan wanted to turn around one long too. He's the man. He's probably option 1A, 1B in Carolina. He's going to get fed the ball a ton. Golden has plenty of other options that he's competing with in the Green Bay receiving core. So I get it. I'm not saying but I'm saying as far as would it shock me to see Golden put up a better season than McMillan? No. Would it shock me to see him put up a better season than Buka? No. So I like that pick there.
Yeah. We saw Team 5 go wide receiver with Juwan Jennings. We talked about, of course, Hollywood Brown. Maybe that's more front loaded as far as how his season plays out from a stat standpoint. Jennings, maybe it's going to be a slower ramp up because he's basically missed all of the preseason with his contract injury, whatever. We're calling that. But a lot of wide receivers now. 5 wide receivers there for Team 5. Team 5, along with teams 4, 5, 7, 9, and 10. So about half the teams, a little less than half the teams so far, have gone just running back, wide receiver. So nothing at the onesie positions yet of quarterback or tight end. Tyler Warren going off the board with the 10th pick of the 7th round. I think that the Daniel Jones decision, quarterback there for Indianapolis, really helped Tyler Warren start to creep up ADPs a little bit more.
Very, very much so. Richardson's an athlete. Richardson can throw the deep ball. He wasn't a guy that's going to be hitting the tight end across the middle a ton. The intermediate stuff, putting the ball on the receiver is his problem. I agree totally. Jones being the quarterback there has shot Warren right up.
When you're playing fantasy, you love to have kind of a late season hammer, right? The guys that are going to really get you over the finish line. Last 2 wide receiver picks for Team 2, Rashee Rice and Chris Godwin. So definitely planning for that sort of Halloween being the team that's going to be scaring everybody with that lineup.
He's going to be white knuckling while he holds on until then.
But I'll tell you what, I like that strategy from the standpoint of it's early in the season, and so there's no buys early on,
very true.
And the injuries have not started to pile up yet. So if there's any time where you can kind of plug and play and, just try to get whatever you need from those kind of last starting lineup positions, it's right away. And then, like I said, even if that doesn't work, you've still got guys like Godwin and Rice to hopefully come in and help put you over the top or get you back into contention if you weren't already.
No, you mentioned late season hammer, and that could work out very, very well, especially when you look at the early picks. Gibbs, who you mentioned, could be the number 1 running back. Allen, who I would say is the odds-on favorite to be the number 1 quarterback. You mix in those 2 who would be, top, if they were healthy or if they weren't suspended, they'd probably be, top 3 round picks in the draft right now if they didn't have the negatives involved with them. Yep. So if he can hang on, that's an excellent start.
Yep. And so he just grabbed Cooper Kupp then with his first pick of the 8th round. And it is so this sort of yin and yang, right? Because you've got with Kupp, he's a guy that he did so well for the Rams for so long, but the Rams, they said, thank you, goodbye. They didn't even try to hang on to him. Now he gets to go back, back home and to Washington. And maybe there's a little bit something in the tank early in the season, but if, you hope that's the case. And then if he does fall off, okay, you've got somebody ready to come in and backfill with Godwin and Rice.
Or if he gets his annual Cooper Kupp injury, while Rice or Godwin are back.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. We saw Team 1 go running back, by the way. So that was one of, I believe, 2 teams with just 1 running back to this point. And then he went ahead there are still 2 left.
You got to figure, but you got to figure, Team 6 and Team 12 aren't very happy to see this green shooting up. These are the 0 running back specialties right here. Your Charbonnet, your Aaron Jones, Jalen Warren. These are the guys that go wide receiver early. I think these are the guys they're looking to get. So I'm sure they have a couple other guys in mind. And I'm sure they're holding on for dear life, hoping that they make it back to them right here.
But that's what happens when you draft at the ends, right? When you've got those back-to-back picks, you wait so long, and this to the point we made before this started, you cannot expect guys to fall.
No one's making it back,
right? So you really are taking a stand regardless of who you pick when you pick, in the right on the turns there. Baker Mayfield, he's let's see, it's been about little more than a round since the last quarterback came off the board there with Mahomes. But Mayfield had such a great season last year. Doesn't use his legs much, but not afraid to if he has to. It's really more a matter of, does anything change with Liam Cohen now in Jacksonville? We're about to find out, but certainly I love what Mayfield's been able to do in that offense.
Yeah, I'm a big Cohen guy, so and their offensive line is a little dinged up, so I'm a little less optimistic on Mayfield than some others, but this is where he goes. This is where he should go. I'm not going to argue with it at this point.
Yep. And then we saw Team 5 go Tyrone Tracy, Team 6 go Isaiah Pacheco. So now that is 6 running backs with the last 10 picks, 11 picks. I'm not here for math, everybody.
It's been a long time.
TJ Hawkinson now off the board. I mentioned Warren, has been kind of climbing up the board. Hawkinson's sort of been he's like the boring pick. He's kind of just been there. He's stayed. And it's like, it's interesting because before he, suffered the injury last season, or was it season before into it? Sorry, again, long week. Hawkinson was a stud. Like, he has the ability to put up those top, tight end 1 weeks. So this is absolutely a spot where I love to get it. If I've missed out on, the round 3 bonanza of tight ends, like Hawkinson here is really kind of where I find myself, taking that guy.
Yeah, very much so. With Jordan Addison suspended early, with a rookie quarterback, a big tight end like that in the middle of the field is a rookie quarterback's best friend. So I think Hawkinson's going to get fed. I like him there. And again, Travis Kelce, here we go. Yesterday, you're banking the touchdown with that. The receiving core is dinged up. He looked fresh. Obviously, it's going to come down to health with the older tight end like that. Is he going to be there in December? Is he going to be healthy after taking hits? But again, with the shape that Kansas City receiving core is in, you got to figure Kelce. And again, with the touchdown that he had yesterday baked in, I'm kind of surprised he hasn't gone a little higher this weekend.
Yeah, you're like exactly right. You've got that huge week 1 to put in the bank, and a tight end. I mean, that goes a long way at that position. We saw J.K. Dobbins go a pick before, so Team 9, no tight end and no quarterback still. So we're looking at a handful, or maybe just 3 teams now. Team 5 doesn't have those onesies. Team 7, Team 9. Everybody else has at least a quarterback or a tight end.
I'm incredibly interested to see what Team Santos is going to do here. Oh, wow. Another receiver. Wow, interesting.
Well, I mean, it might have gotten to the point now where maybe he was waiting for maybe a Pacheco or a Warren. He did take one with Travis Etienne. And hey,
again, a guy that people walking out of this room last year, if they had Travis Etienne, they were incredibly happy. I want to say he was a round 2 pick, or maybe even a round 1 pick in some cases. I talked about how I like Liam Cohen. Etienne's a weapon. I'm not a big Tank Bigsby guy. They got 2 in the rookie who's looked good, but he's a rookie running back. So Etienne there, based on the build they already have, I really, really do like that pick as far as potential upside goes. And again, we talked about it earlier with Breece Hall. Travis Etienne was a guy in this very room last year that was going very, very early, round 2, round 3.
Yep. We had mentioned the stack for Team 1 with the Cincinnati, Chase and Burrow. Now we see another stack come to fruition here with Team 10. Marvin Harrison was a 3rd-round pick, and then Kyler Murray comes off the board there with that 3rd pick of the 9th round. So again, when if you expect Marvin Harrison to have a big year, it's going to take Kyler Murray's arm to do it. And so you might as well double down
up. Again, in a single league, double up.
Yep. Now, Quinshawn Judkins is an interesting one because he just signed his contract. I do believe the charges he's facing legally have been dropped at this point, but that doesn't mean the NFL wouldn't punish him. He also has missed all of training camp. He's a rookie. It's not like I'm all that scared about the running backs in that Cleveland room, but he's got a pretty big ladder to climb.
And again, we talk about rookies. Look at this 3 rookie running backs, Team 9, Henderson, Harvey, Judkins, and then like the most boring but reliable guy that's going to be there week 1. JK. Yeah. So, I mean, I think by the time Dobbins is wearing out, I think obviously Harvey, if Dobbins is wearing out, Harvey is going to be there to take over. But, maybe in a perfect world, by the time Dobbins is JK, he started hot last year and kind of fell off. By the time he falls off this year, maybe it's Judkins' time.
Yeah, we'll see. It is, if you're going to get risky at running back, you almost need to just take multiple risks,
Yeah.
and that's really what's happened here with the 3 rookies and Dobbins. So you by taking Dobbins, you've got the Denver backfield basically locked up, and it's a very good offensive line there in Denver. So you feel like you've got one there, hopefully, and then with Travion and Quinshon Judkins, of course, you're hoping one of those.
Well, then you got exactly right. You got your 2 running backs with Henderson and the Denver guys, and then you got your flex is one of those 4 wide receivers that you took. So that works out well. I'm really liking Team 9's start.
I wouldn't be surprised to see like a Cam Scatabo and a Bashal Tootin added to that as well. Again, just for more bites at that apple.
Yes.
So we saw Team A take Darnell Mooney, followed by Brian Robinson, Caleb Johnson, and Bo Nix. I'll be curious later if we see much handcuffing in this, being we got 19-round draft here. With a bench like that, you can if you want to. The McCaffrey owner, Team 3, didn't get that chance with here in round 9, Brian Robinson being taken. I would have been curious to see if he would have gone there, just given the fact that Team 3 still just with those 3 running backs, to get that insurance policy. But I like the, at that point, because with Kamara, you've got an older running back, with Connor, an older running back. Both bell cows, both have been very reliable, but, Robinson's one of those, one injury away from being a running back 1 on a weekly basis.
Very much so. On a good offense, behind a decent offensive line, that has the potential. I mean, look at what happened with Jordan Mason last year. He came in, and until he got hurt, he was putting up running back 1 numbers in that offense. Again, a Kyle Shanahan offense, running back 1 is always going to be a valuable piece.
Yep. David Njoku now off the board. So Team 4, after riding the running back and wide receiver train for 7 rounds, has now gone quarterback and tight end back to back with Mayfield and Njoku. Both of they're sort of like the workman-like guy, right? Like you're probably not going to get the huge spike weeks. Maybe Baker from time to time. Njoku's going to get in the end zone from time to time. But you're just hoping to get solid, steady performances from both.
He was obviously a huge 2018 Cleveland Browns fan, reuniting Mayfield and David Njoku. It's good to see them together again.
And you got Jerry Jeudy in there as well. We're going to see a Flacco pick before this night's out. Xavier Worthy goes to Team 3. So huge fall for Xavier Worthy, and expectedly so, of course, with the shoulder injury. But it's amazing what one night or one 24-hour period can do.
Is that a gamble you take right here at the end of round 9?
I probably wouldn't, because I just, without that information, I had expected, even with a healthy Worthy, Rashee Rice to come back and kind of own that. It's not like Travis Kelce was going away. I actually was somebody who has a fair bit of Hollywood Brown in like best ball teams and some of my deeper leagues, just because I felt like it was a worthy gamble given how late he was going. And so Xavier Worthy, I think I only have him in my regular leagues, just maybe in 1 league, because I thought I like the talent, but I just thought eventually he might get crowded out, at least from a consistency standpoint there. So I don't know that I personally would have taken him there, but I mean, it's hard to argue with value at this point. And, we'll just have to see how that injury news plays out.
And you look at the team he does have. He has Adams, Flowers, Adunze to be his starting wide receivers, Bijan, McCaffrey, hopefully McCaffrey, and Warren to fill the flex spot. So he can maybe get away with it. Again, the bye weeks will come in and start to, make things a little more thin.
Yeah.
I think I'd do it at that point. Again, I said how, you get 20,000 on the line. I don't know how much I'd be willing to gamble. About round 9 is where I could start to do it, and I'd like that worthy pick.
Yeah. So Evan Ingram go to Team 2, followed by Keon Coleman and Jaden Higgins to Team 1. So, I still Team 1 at this point, no tight end, but you figure now everybody except for 2 other teams has one. So if you've got a guy you like, or even one or a couple guys that you like, we said you can't wait for guys to fall to you in this type of draft, but at those onesie positions when other teams have them, basically with 2 ready to go, you have to expect Team 9 and Team 5 will take one with one of their next 2 picks, which means you feel like there are 3 left that you're comfortable with.
And who's still out there? We should probably have the AD people up ahead of us. I know Mark Andrews comes to mind right off the top of my head. I'm sure we're missing a couple others.
Yeah, but, I'll call that up on the phone.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see there. The Jaden Higgins, you talk about a guy that's got steamed up a lot this weekend. It looks like Christian Kirk's dinged up in Houston, so it's looking like Higgins is probably going to be their wide receiver 2, their second option in the passing game. He's a guy that again, early on in the draft season, a guy that I wasn't expecting. Again, a rookie wide receiver. And that's kind of been a theme of our show a little bit. Here we talk about how you really can't count on these guys. But again, at the start of round 10, is Higgins that much different than Golden? And then I said, is Golden that much different than Ibuka? And is Ibuka that much different than McMillan? So basically, this guy Chad Schrader just got Tet McMillan at the start of round 10. Congratulations to you, Chad.
We had a little run on Washington running backs there that just came to an end. But to put a bow on that conversation with tight end, actually Mark Andrews, from an ADP standpoint, right now, just from the NFFC values, ahead of Evan Ingram, ahead of Tyler Warren, ahead of David Njoku. So, Andrews is a guy that if he falls, I think Team 1 would be very happy to get there. But then you've still got Tucker Kraft, Colston Loveland, Dalton Kincaid, Jake Ferguson,
plenty of options.
Dallas Goedert, who had a usable week 1
very
game.
Much
so absolutely, there's still plenty to go there. We saw Team 2 take Rashid Shaheed. He's another guy that I actually took a lot of. Hopefully not foolishly this offseason, just because we saw how special he could be with his skill set before he got hurt early last season. There's just 2 question marks. One, how can he come back at full health, with the injury he had? And 2, can Spencer Rattler get him the football? Yeah, right. So,
that might be the big one.
Yeah.
But, they're going to get the ball in his hands. So that the New Orleans offense is void of playmakers in a huge, huge way. So he's one of them. Again, we don't know what we're going to get from Olave coming back from his ailments. Kamara obviously is always going to get his dump offs, but I think getting the ball to Shaheed is going to be in their game plan often. And I don't think he's going to have too many huge weeks, but I think he's going to be reliable. And we talked about Team 2 needing reliable with Rice and Godwin on board. I think he's going to be a reliable player for him in those weeks while he waits for Rice and Godwin to get back.
Well, and I think when you have sort of that thin group of skill position players, if Olave, Shaheed, and Kamar are healthy, I trust Kellen Moore to figure out ways to get them the football.
Yes.
So to your point, I think there could be a little more consistency than some might expect from a receiver you get on a team that's expected to be one of the worst in round 10.
Yes.
Yeah. So
not a lot of downside to that pick.
Yeah. Then we saw, like you said, Eckler and Krosky Merritt go, Cam Scatabo right after the Jaden Reed pick. That's one that, I was talking with Greg earlier today, Greg, the Packers fan, and he was even thinking that Reed was still going too high. He's kind of one guy that's been on my do not draft list, and maybe it bites me. We'll see, but it scares me for sure.
Just to point out real quick, we mentioned the Dobbins Harvey handcuff earlier. We got the Tracy Scatabo handcuff for Team 5.
Yep, and he kind of needed it with only Saquon and Chuba Hubbard there as his.
Now he's got his 3 running backs.
Yep, and you got to feel good about that. So we ended up. Somebody's real happy about the Bashal Tootin pick, and we did talk about the Tootin, and it's the same thing. It's another running back handcuff, right? We're seeing those happen early. Very excited about. I can't vouch for who did the screaming. If it was a Bashal Tootin fan club,
I think Bashal Tootin's mom was actually in the room.
We had let's see, Team 7. Just to rewind a little bit, Team 7 took Dak Prescott. I think we'll probably see a quarterback 2 pretty early from him, just given CeeDee Lamb cost Dak a handful of fantasy points there. Trey Benson was picked after that by Team 8. Not allowing James Conner to be handcuffed. Instead of he would have had to take Benson instead of Dak there. Drake May, somebody there in round 10. I like that for Team 9 because I do think that he has a chance to take another step forward. He was solid last year, and somebody that's going to get you a decent floor due to the legs.
Yeah, the running is no doubt there, and we talked about it how Herbert seems to add it. How Mahomes is doing it a little more. I think the legs, again, you look at Bo Nix. I'd consider Nix and May kind of on the same level. They kind of went around each other here. So for a QB1, I'm guessing they'll have to get another high upside. I think you'll see them take another quarterback here somewhere along the line just to play the matchup, because you're going to have those Jets weeks. You're going to have those weeks for May where he's in Buffalo in the cold.
Yep.
So I think you need a better you need a better option than May for those weeks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the legs give them just a huge amount of upside and a huge amount of consistency across the board. Yeah,
we saw Ramondre Stevenson go right after, followed by Braylon Allen, and then the Bayshell Tootin pick of the day, I guess, so far. It's really interesting. So Team 11 there with Genty and Walker. I like that one too. But Mason and Allen are absolutely the kind of guys that I like to get in the mid rounds like this, because I do think both of them have goal line potential. I think Allen, just as an athlete overall, is we have a new regime here with the Jets. It's it's not like I don't like Breece Hall, from a, just a talent standpoint. I think he's fantastic. It's just we now have a regime that inherited him instead of brought him in the way they also inherited Braylon Allen. But I think that does open up the competition a little bit more, where if he plays well, it could knock a few carries a game.
And I mean, if you look at the Jets skill position players, obviously we talked about Garrett Wilson, but wide receiver too, Josh Reynolds, tight end Mason Taylor, a rookie.
Yep.
I think there's going to be a lot of Breece Hall split out wide with Allen in the backfield. I think that's something you might see a little more of. I think you're going to see them on the field together. They need playmakers on the field. And again, you can always question how Josh Fields is going to throw them the football. But I think there's going to be a lot more Allen on the field than we think. And I don't think it's going to always come from Breece Hall's time. I think there's going to be a lot of time on the field together. It will be interesting to see how they utilize those two.
Yeah, I mean, and if Justin Fields can even have a modicum of success throwing to the running backs, then maybe there's a little bit, more meat on the bone for both of those guys. So we're just going to have to see what Fields can do from an accuracy standpoint. We are at a break now. So at the end of round 10, we saw the doors open up and folks come out for the quick restroom break, get a drink, etc. So I'm not sure how long they're going to break for. I'm guessing it won't be
10 or so
long.
minutes. Yeah, it won't
10 or so minutes. So
it's a Saturday night in Vegas. No one's looking to hang out here any longer than we have to.
Well, we're very happy to have all of you hanging out with us. It's 643 viewers now.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Somebody left because it's break time. 6:42 now. They'll be back.
Cut the stream. Cut the stream.
And actually, I think while we have a break here, we have some comments. I didn't even know we could do this because this is my first live StreamYard. So let's see. I don't know if there's any questions. So looks like all right, we got. Oh yeah, the Tet pick in round 2. We mentioned that was a big surprise. The RB run. The Team 11 talking Raiders. What we talked about. We'll have to see if we end up seeing that. Geno Smith pick come a little later. Hey, look at this. We're getting some love from our commentating.
Oh, look at that.
I think that's all you. Thank you, Spencer. We appreciate the kind words. The Kyle talking about being down bad with Worthy and Pickens, 35% chance to win this week. Question: should I double stack Allen with Shakir and Coleman, or should I start Jacoby Myers? Please pick 2. You get a start sit question.
Boy, I think I'm going with the stack again with the bad start that you had. We've kind of talked about double, the double points with the stacks here. So I'm going with the 2.
Yeah, I'll typically roll the dice like that as well when I need upside. And you go for the double dip, and there have been times where I've done that and it doesn't work out, but that's one of those process over results type thing.
You may need a miracle with Pickens and Worthy in your lineup, and that seems to me the way to get the miracle is getting those points, double points on a receiving touchdown from Shakir or Coleman.
Yeah, I mean, as happy as I was about my Chargers bet last night, in that first half, I have one of my home league teams. In fact, team that's going to be out here in Vegas drafting next year because it's our 25th anniversary of a home league. But I've got the Mahomes Worthy stack. Worthy gets hurt, and Mahomes didn't have anything in that first half, and I was like, "Oh man, I am toast." But Mahomes had that big second half, and I still might actually have a chance there. So, read the board. No, I don't know. Is that a question?
Well, what are your thoughts on Team 5 picking Knicks when every team in front of him
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get the quarterback eventually. I'll just speak to that. I've seen it a couple times this year where people waited on quarterbacks and then were extremely unhappy when someone took a second one. And I don't know if that's going to happen as much in a league like this, but it's something I've seen more and more of. You still got to get your guy. Someone that usually waits on quarterback and is starting way too much of Bryce Young and Michael Penix in leagues this week.
Yeah.
You still want to make sure you get your guy.
You do, but I think the point's well taken because there wasn't a stack partner there with Team 5. He does not have Cortland Sutton. The next 4 teams all had a quarterback already. Now, and teams 1, 2, and 3, you're not sitting Joe Burrow. Like the Burrow, Allen, Jackson, unless they're hurt or on bye, they're starting.
Yes.
Now, Mayfield's one that's okay. If you could see a matchup situation coming into play there. And Team 4 had 2 picks prior to Team 5's next selection. So that would be the one place that I was scared of, like, okay, he took Baker. If I'm a Knicks guy, I'd be real pissed if right before I was about to take him there in that 10th round, the Team 4 got him.
Yes, very much so.
So I'm a roll the dice type, but again, I typically am not rolling the dice with 20 grand on the line.
Yeah.
It's really hard to put myself in those shoes. But
and again, I'm coming back to a 20,000 on the line. I don't want to be starting Bryce Young.
Yep. So we'll see. But yeah, the same thing kind of happened late with. Team 9 didn't have one yet, so the Dak pick you could say was. That one was kind of interesting to me. I think you probably maybe could have waited, but you figured Team 9 was going to take one, and now look, Team 9 actually took 2 because we're back.
And it's kind of what we discussed with the May, where May is going to have his great matchups, and then he's going to have those Northeast winter matchups.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Trevor Lawrence guy this year. I talked about my Liam Cohen fandom.
Yep.
If he does anything what he did to Mayfield to Lawrence, I think Lawrence is probably a more talented player. I think there's a ton of upside there. I love that back-to-back May Lawrence for team number 9.
Team 12 ended up starting round 11 with Tucker Kraft 4 rounds after taking Sam Laporta. Now, certainly Sam Laporta is no slam dunk guarantee, but given the build there, I actually expected to see another running back go there.
Very much so. That's curious to me, but again, Mike Santos, Team 12. I'm never going to question anything he does.
Right.
That's the right move.
I don't want Mike Santos commentating my draft. Let's put it that way.
He wouldn't stop laughing.
Oh, man, yeah. Team 11 with Cedric Tillman. Cedric Tillman's an interesting one. I'm actually, ever since Flacco got named the starter, I expected to see Tillman go up more than he has. People obviously love Jerry Jeudy. Where'd Jeudy go? 5th round, towards the end of the 5th round. Cedric Tillman, I think could be just as good.
And I don't mean to change the subject, but we talked about why Team 12 maybe took a second tight end here. You see Team 8 take a second tight end. You see Team 6 take our Mark Andrews we talked about. I think this might be a block. Chad Schrader, Team 1, without the tight end. I think they're saying
Team 5 doesn't have one either.
Yeah. I think this is them saying, look, we're going to keep these guys from getting instead of getting, Mark Andrews, what was he on the ADP tight end? 7,
he was
tight
7.
end 8. Yeah. Instead of letting these guys get tight end 7, so get tight end wherever Goddard is. He'd probably be tight end.
He went 12.
8, 9.
Andrews went 12. Goddard went 11.
Yeah. So I think what you're seeing, we mentioned what is Mike Santos doing? I think Mike Santos might be blocking Chad Schrader at the end from getting a top tight end, a tight end that could really fit well with the team that Chad has built at Team 1.
Yeah. And to add to that, both the Goddard and Andrews pick went to guys with top 3 tight ends. The McBride owner took Dallas Goedert. Kittle took Andrews. I would expect it more with like the Laporta, right? The Laporta or a Kelsey or even a Hawkinson.
And again, these guys know way more than I do, but I'm thinking the thinking might be by taking a Mark Andrews out of someone's starting lineup, by taking a Dallas Goedert out of someone's starting lineup, it makes Kittle and McBride that much more valuable.
Yeah. Yep, you are 100% right, because now when you're matched up against those teams, you're facing a much worse tight end. So
correct.
I absolutely love that as a strategy. I'm all for that. Team 5 took Tank Bigsby. So we're seeing there with this. He wrapped up the Giants backfield and then went Bigsby. You mentioned you're not a huge Bigsby guy, but maybe a Liam Cohen guy. So we'll see that. I've been mostly staying away from the Jacksonville backfield, not because I don't think there's talent there, but because I think that there's maybe too many cooks in that kitchen.
Very much so. Yeah, again, and we'll say Team 12, they got the other. It'd been interesting to see if they would have considered Bigsby if he made it all the way back. And
Can
then
you imagine that start sit every week?
Yeah. You talk about. You just got to hope one of them gets hurt at that point, right?
Yeah,
make it a little easier.
Right. Yeah.
But again, this might be the Chad Schrader defense round. Ollie Gordon, they're keeping Ollie Gordon from letting Chad handcuff him with Achane.
Yeah.
This again, anyone that's in the high stakes industry, you know the name Chad Schrader. He's one of the best. I've been doing this 20 years. He's been one of the best for 20 years. So I think there's a lot of defense going on here this round. And again, Gordon's a great pick. I think.
Yes.
Again, he's Achane's been injured all year. Wright is dinged up. He was an excellent. I'm a big college football guy. Probably the best running back in college football in 2023. Huge upside, but again, I think people are looking and saying we can't let Chad get the Achane handcuff. We can't let Chad get a top tight end, and I think that's what we're seeing at the start of round, or not even the start, for most of round 11.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, and that's where I wish we could be in the room listening to them, but we'd be bothering them with all of our commentary, so we can't. But to hear if they were egging guys on, like, come on, somebody grab Ollie. Same thing with the tight ends. But not only a good handcuff to Achane, I think still independent value there, even with a healthy Achane.
Exactly. You talked about Achane catching passes out of the backfield. We kind of talked about that Jet situation, how we might see them both having value, Allen and Hall. I think it might be kind of similar there.
Yeah, I think if Team 3 would not have taken Ollie Gordon, I think Team 2 probably would have, again, with that block. And they've still, we talked about Gibbs, Kyron, and Javonte, 3 what seem to now be solid roles there. But you're still going to need some depth there before this thing's out. And instead of adding some depth there, Team 2 actually takes his quarterback 2, Jared Goff. So I don't have the matchups for bye weeks in front of me, but I would think that might have to play something into it. I got to see who the Lions play there in week 7. But of course, when you have Josh Allen, you're not benching him unless he is hurt or on bye. Exactly right.
So interesting pick to me. I think there might have been better values there, but again, there's some kind of thinking that we're probably missing here.
Yeah, if I pick my phone up, maybe I'll see who the Lions get week 7. But that might be a thing where he's got Jahmyr Gibbs, knows Gibbs is going to catch passes, figures okay, that might be I might get that stack when I need it.
No, that's an excellent way of that's interesting. And excuse me, that's Javonte. I was going to say Jamison Williams. That's Green running back. Yes. But we do got to point out Team 1 did get their tight end, Colston Loveland, high upside tight end. That's a guy that
was it 8th overall pick, I believe, for my Bears.
Yeah, right up there. And again, as a Bears fan, you'll know better than I will. But extreme upside. I know I watched a couple of preseason games there where it seemed like he was a favorite target of Caleb Williams. I like it. Personally, he's better than a couple of these, boring old guys that have been around the block a couple of times. Why not go with the upside? There's a couple other upside tight ends. I won't mention them quite yet, but I bet Chad.
Geez.
Yeah. So, stay tuned, folks. But something though. But I'm guessing Chad pairs another one of those high upside tight ends with Loveland and hopes that maybe he gets a top 12 option every week there.
Yeah, I mean at the start of round 12 to get that as your to get Loveland there as your first tight end. I think given how the board fell, not being able to get Andrews or Goddard, I think you definitely take that. He couldn't not take a tight end at that point. Yeah. In fact, I know he took Nick Chubb. I wouldn't have been surprised to see 2 tight ends.
Yeah, no. Again, okay, so I'll mention a couple of these upside guys. Brenton Strange, Jacksonville is a guy I kind of like. Probably too early for him.
Yeah.
But a guy I'm sure, that Chad might have his eye on later. Fannin in Cleveland's a guy that's gotten a lot of steam here this weekend. They're saying he might be a dang tight end, a guy that sat the last week of the preseason because they're thinking he might have such a huge role in that offense. So there's a couple of these high upside tight ends that I think we might see Team 1 look at. And who was the other team? Team 5 doesn't even have a tight end yet. So will they start looking for some of these upside guys at some point? It wouldn't surprise me.
We see Team 6, of course, had Jaden Daniels with round 4 pick take Brock Purdy as their number 2. Purdy fell quite a bit. I'm pretty surprised that he was still available there. Purdy's somebody that I probably would have taken certainly over Goff. I think maybe over Lawrence as well. And I mean, shoot, you could make a case, over Dak, given how the slow start there. Because I wonder, again, we're not in the room, so we can't say, but maybe the Dak owner there was maybe just sniped on Brock Purdy, thinking, okay, I didn't get my Dak. I'm not playing my week 1 Dak, so now I need something else.
We had the question at the break about reading the board with the Bo Nix pick and stuff. But look at all these teams getting their second quarterback now. Maybe that could have happened a round or two ago. That's why you go and get your guy. That's why you get your Nix that we talked about, just to make sure. Because again, $20 on the line. I like Purdy. I like Goff. I'm not a huge Caleb Williams guy. Sorry, Bears fans, but I don't know if I want one of those guys starting for my $20,000 fantasy football team.
Yep. So Brandon Ayuk here goes towards the end of round 11. That's a spot where, let's see, where did Godwin go? I feel like it's, Godwin went much earlier. Yeah, Godwin was towards the end of round 7. Ayuk end of round 12. Now we do, expect Godwin back a couple of weeks ahead of Ayuk at least. But from a value standpoint, I'm much more interested in waiting a couple more weeks and getting Ayuk with a round, 12 pick than I am, using the round 7 pick on Godwin. Again, that's no knock on Godwin. I think he's a great player, but I really like the value there at the wide receiver spot. And, this is a team, again, you mentioned with the Pickens pick, you're not using him in week 1. And there's just a lot of, you're taking some good shots here with Tillman and Ayuk in rounds 11 and 12 to maybe elevate themselves by the end of the season into your wide receiver 2 role. You'll be much happier with George Pickens as your wide receiver 3, I think, in fantasy than wide receiver 2.
And very much so. And I'm going to bring it up again. That's where having that Keenan Allen game in the bag already helps quite a bit.
And here we had Brent. Sorry, I'm having a hard time juggling the comments and the commentating, but Brent noted Bucks at Lions week 7 when the Bills are on bye. So Monday Night Football game, possible shootout. So probably why Jagger took off there. So our heads were in the right spot. We just didn't have all that in front of us. So just I'm gonna go through some of the comments.
We got to talk about Scott Colby saying the Will Dissly.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you the Will Dissly picture that we have when he comes up on the board. Let's just hope someone takes Will Dissly.
Well, he says, Jeff and guys, good to see you. I drafted RotorWire online last night, took Will Dissly in the 20th round, and Jeff knows why.
It's the Will Dissly picture. It's taken on a life of its own this week. Hopefully someone takes Dissly and we can see the beautiful avatar that comes along with him.
Well, and Webby mentioned here, and like we said, Ollie Gordon definitely more than a handcuff. Helpful as a handcuff for the HN owner, absolutely. More than a handcuff, yes, 100% agree with that. I know we skipped over a handful of guys there: Xavier Legette, Woody Marks, Demario Douglas, Jerome Ford. Any of those guys we haven't really talked about yet stand out to you?
Josh Palmer is an interesting one to me that has kind of caught a little bit of steam. That Buffalo wide receiving group, Shakir, Coleman, Palmer. I would put the odds at 33%. Any of them could be the number 1 receiver there. And I don't think any of them are going to be a wide receiver 1 from a fantasy standpoint, but I think there's going to be some solid. There's got to be some solid. I think we've said this for how many years from the Buffalo wide receiver core.
Somebody, please.
Yeah. And so Palmer, I've always been a big Palmer guy. Even again, we talked about how Harbaugh kind of had the reins on Herbert last year, and how that offense never really got going over the last couple of years. I've always been a Palmer guy from a talent standpoint, so it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of those November, December games in Buffalo or in New England or the Meadowlands. I don't have their schedule in front of me, but I like that pick quite a bit. And then obviously Rachaad White, we talked about Breece Hall, we talked about Travis Etienne. Rachaad White was the guy that was going round 3, round 2 in this room last year. I mean, again, you never wish for injuries, but if Bucky Irving bends the wrong way tomorrow, you got yourself second, third round pick there possibly.
Yeah. And another guy who's more than a handcuff.
He's going to catch passes. He's going to be a third down back.
He's an excellent pass catcher for that team. Romeo Dobbs at Team 10. It's painful for me to say anything positive, anything Packer related, but honestly, he's somebody, because of how late he goes, I think he might be my most owned best ball receiver, because he's just steady, consistent, and somebody who.
But you need to turn in your
Bears.
You need to turn in
my
your Bears fan
card.
card. That can't. You can't have a Packer as your number one.
No, he's not my most home, but not my number one receiver. Most home because you get him late.
Okay.
It's okay.
No, number one most owned even. I don't know. That's.
I know.
We're gonna have to bring that to the board of the Chicago Bears fan club and see if we can allow that or not.
I saw. I think my cousin posted this today. It was something like a Bears fan, a Packers fan, and a Cowboys fan walk up the mountain because they want to profess their fandom, and the Cowboys fan jumps off the mountain first, says, "This is for my team," and then the Bears fan walks up next and pushes the Packer fan off and says, "This is for mine." That's
all right. So here we go. Team 5. We've been talking about needing a tight end. We've been talking about upside tight ends. I think that's the ultimate upside tight end. We've all fallen for this over the last 3 or 4 years, right? We've all had our Kyle Pitts phase. They talk about growing up. Everyone has their their goth phase or whatever phase. I think in fantasy football, you always have your Kyle Pitts phase.
Yes.
And everyone's off this year. So that means that this has to be the year, right? Because nobody likes Kyle Pitts this year. He has the quarterback, Penix.
They're going to be in shootouts. That defense is not stopping
good.
Anybody.
I don't think it's going to happen. But for Team 5 to wait on tight end that long, if you're going to wait on tight end that long and you need the ultimate dart throw, I think that may be it. Again, we mentioned guys that went last year. Where White went last year, where Hall went last year. Where did Kyle Pitts was still a round 5, round 6 pick last year. You're getting him round 13 here. Again, is it going to work out? Probably not. But is he really still the same athlete? Does he have the same talent that he did when he was the belle of the ball?
Yeah.
Maybe. I like it there. I like that pick for him.
Yeah, at that point in round 13, what do you have to lose?
Exactly right.
Yeah. We've all lived in our Kyle Pitts era.
We've all had our Kyle Pitts phase.
Yeah. So we'll see it. I'd love to see it for him just because we saw him have so much success as a rookie. We know it's there. We just got to see it happen. So Team 1, like I said, I thought they could have gone tight end instead of just Chubb, Loveland there, and then here at the turn again, running back. But some pretty high upside guys. Of course, we're at that phase of the draft now where it's sort of that one injury away handcuff type. But is there a better team to have a handcuff than the Philadelphia Eagles? No. And Shipley got run last 2 nights ago.
Looked very good.
Just giving Barkley a rest, and he looked good. The few carries he got and opportunities.
He's collecting high upside guys here, I think. Yeah. Even these last 3 picks we talked about: Loveland, Mitchell, Shipley, heck, even Chubb. There's nothing sexy about Nick Chubb at this point, but there's no denying what he potentially could be. The number 1 running back in Houston.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We did see the first team kicker go off the board.
And just for someone that may be watching, the NFFC uses team kicker instead of the individual kicker. So that's the Dallas Cowboys kicker, whether it's Brandon Aubrey, whether, who are some old Cowboys kickers? None are coming on the top of my head. They had a couple misses in the playoffs there, didn't they, over the years?
Yeah.
If it's not an old Cowboys kicker, it could be any Cowboys kicker. As long as they're kicking for the Cowboys in 2025, they belong to Team 2. So there's no need to drop. There's no need to drop Brandon Aubrey if something happens to him. He just still has the Cowboys kicker. So that's what's going on there at the end of round 13.
And then followed that pickup with Christian Kirk. Kirk out for week 1 with a hamstring injury, potentially longer. I think prior to that news, we were starting to actually see, Jaden Higgins went in beginning around 10, Kirk here at the beginning around 14. Those two were basically flip-flops.
Yes.
Christian Kirk really got some late steam, as we got into sort of mid-August. But that injury, huge setback there, especially when you've got 2 rookies sort of breathing down your neck on the depth chart. If those 2 guys go out and play well, Christian Kirk may be a nothing.
But again, here we go with Team 2. He's got 3 injured wide receivers on this team right now. Or excuse me, 2 injured and 1 suspended. Rice, Godwin, Kirk. That's pretty thin. Again, there's no denying the upside if these guys are in there and firing off for him. But that's a little too thin for my liking, I think.
Yeah. And then Eric Iamaner, how Alec, excuse me, I said Eric. My apologies. I was so worried I was going to mess up the last name, which I did, that I also screwed up the first name. Followed by DeAndre Hopkins, so current Titan, former Titan, and again current Titan. We're on a Titan-related run here with Tajay Spears on IR, designated to return, right? Not PUP, if I'm not mistaken, but yes, out regardless early in the season. Adam Thielen, the former and now current again Minnesota Viking. Actually liked Thielen as a late round pick with Carolina. And I think early in the season he's going to be helpful with Minnesota, but barring an injury, I think when Addison comes back, I don't know that Thielen's a guy that is necessarily going to do anything.
Yeah, and we talked about it kind of with Hawkinson earlier. I don't know how loose they're going to be with the rookie quarterback. You got to think they got to keep it kind of tight to start. Especially to start. So is there going to be enough to support 4 pass catchers in that offense? I have my doubts. I don't think so. And I kind of agree with you there. I like them early, and it's probably going to work early. And again, we're looking at this team that he has.
Yeah, he's got the Vikings.
Yeah, that might be a Addison handcuff.
Yep.
And even the Devontae Smith. You're going to bench Devontae Smith based on the game that he had on Thursday night. So. It makes sense. Again, Jaden Reed, again, the guy that's not going to be there early in the season for him. You mentioned Thielen while Addison is out. So it makes sense on this team.
If any Vikings receiver gets hurt, he's got the other guys ready to go with Jefferson and Addison and Thielen there. Justin Fields goes here as the second quarterback for Team 11. This is one where, I said a couple of times, like the early Ted pick made me feel good about, where I'd got him in one league. Now the Fields pick is like the opposite of that, because he's a guy that I had like sneak inside my top 10 quarterbacks because of the rushing upside. Now when I have drafted him, I've come back with a second quarterback pretty quick, just because that's a lot of eggs to put in the Justin Fields basket. But he is clearly not a top 10 quarterback according to this room.
Now let me ask you, if you're Team 11 here, you get the Mahomes game that he had yesterday, or do you go Fields against the Steelers? Very tough matchup.
Mahomes, because he threw the touchdown.
And
he ran for the touchdown.
Yeah, you gotta stick with Mahomes.
He had a
at that point,
good rushing game. Yeah, he ended up with a pretty solid score, especially given how bad things went in that first half. I was ecstatic with where he ended up given that. So I do think you end up
you stick with Mahomes
there. Yep. And then Taj Brooks goes here at the very end. Now, and then we got another running back handcuff. So it's interesting because, back when, we talked about playing 20 years ago, handcuffs were the thing. That
Priest Holmes, Larry
ago.
Johnson, all that.
And then but there was a shift where it just was no longer en vogue to handcuff your running back. It was, all you're doing is blowing a roster spot because
take someone else's handcuffs.
Yes,
gamble with the upside.
Exactly. But this group clearly doesn't subscribe to that theory. And I definitely seen the tide sort of shift back to that handcuff mode, like just would rather have the guy,
the safety,
and no, I haven't have the insurance there. I'd rather have, three running backs on my team with guaranteed 2 roster spots filled, as opposed to 3 running backs on my team, and one of those 3 gets hurt, and then I got 1 because I'm waiting for the other guy. So it's all about sort of risk tolerance and just what your thoughts are on sort of how teams are going to construct their backfields, because there are teams where if the number 1 goes down, it's not a clear number 2 coming in.
But we talked about the Shanahan, the Mason situation last year, something similar. And again, we got to talk about Team 12. We wondered what they were going to do at running back after they went Brown. And then all the receivers, quarterback, the tight end, and then another receiver. They handcuffed the Jacksonville, somewhat handcuffed the Jacksonville situation.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
And then and then upside. Then you talk about, again, where's Tom Kesnick at? His parlay hit 2 out of 3 yesterday, and he wasn't too happy about it.
But that's why he was eating ice cream and pasting.
You gotta eat that one off. But But now the upside, guys, you talk about getting someone else's handcuff. Ray Davis. If anything happens to James Cook, that's a top running back and a top offense. And again, a guy that's going to have some value regardless of whether Cook's in there. Dylan Sampson.
Hey, speak of the devil.
Yeah. Here comes Tom. We're going to have to ask him about his parlay here in a minute. Taj Brooks. And then Blake Corum again. There's been a lot of Jacquez Hunter talk, but I still think he's the number 2 in Los Angeles behind Kyron Williams. And, Williams hasn't exactly had the best health over the years, not the biggest of running backs, a guy that takes a pounding. So they followed all those wide receivers up with some pretty high upside running backs. It's hard to argue against what they're doing here. This is, a pretty, I don't want to say zero running back build since they took a running back in the first round.
It's the hero build.
The hero build. Is that what that's officially called?
Hero running back, yes.
But that's a good look. I like what these guys are doing.
Yeah, stylistically, that's the way I like to play it. If I'm going to take a risk at a position, I'm going to take several risks at that position in hopes it works out.
Versus like play the odds. You're going to get one.
Yep, exactly. Which is how I won so much at craps, right?
Yes, exactly right. Why you had the mink coat that's sitting over here and the diamond chains. And you can't have that big diamond pendant on with the light shining. That would have made things blurry. But again, I think if you went and talked to Team 12 right now, they say if any of those 6 running backs that they drafted here within their last 7 picks, if one of them turns into our running back too, I think they'd take it, snap call that, and take that in a heartbeat.
Yep, absolutely. We saw Troy Franklin, Torrey Horton, and Kareem Hunt go at these last 3. That Torrey Horton pick is interesting one. I like the upside there. It's so Seattle's just such an interesting situation with you've got new quarterback, new receiver, with Kupp there, and Horton, of course. It's just. Does Sam Darnold, was Kevin O'Connell the quarterback whisperer, and that was the reason? I mean, he made the passer not a thing. So does Sam Darnold turn back into a pumpkin in Seattle?
That's gonna be an extremely interesting offense. I'm not a huge fan. I think they have one of the poorer offensive lines in football. So that's a big thing. I talked about Goff and pressure earlier. Darnold and pressure. He don't like guys in his face. So that could be a potential negative there. But as an offense, when we talk about Kenneth Walker, we talk about Charbonnet going in round 7. I don't think anything would really surprise me. I don't think I'd be surprised if they came out and lit the world on fire. Kupp and Jackson Smith and Jigba, the running backs, Darnold. I wouldn't be surprised if they struggled and didn't look like they knew what they were doing. As far as like if you could have a crystal ball in the future and say what's this offense going to be, they'd be an interesting one to me because I think they have like such a huge range of outcomes.
I agree. We're at 777. That's a Vegas number. If there ever was one.
Time to shut off the stream and hit the table.
We hit the jackpot.
Oh no!
Right there.
Whoever just hopped in, please leave.
Popped over because I just want to see any comments in here. We talked about if Henry goes down there, having that Keaton Mitchell is good. With Brashard Smith value rock. Have we seen Brashard Smith go off the board yet?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so, but I could have missed that. Team 12 should have grabbed Monty instead of Herbert is what Brent says. The DKB chiming in with that A.J. Brown in the 4th round being you had mentioned that ridiculous value. Absolutely. Pearsall around 5. You would like that. Uncle Ted here thinks
Uncle
that maybe
Ted,
it's a bit of a
Ted,
reach.
hang on, Uncle Ted. Fantasy baseball. I don't know if you're a fantasy baseball guy or not, but Uncle Ted is the notorious streamer, commenter.
Yeah.
Uncle Ted, we got to take some pictures early this year, man. I don't know how it worked out. I don't know how your guys worked out for you, but Uncle Ted, if you're there, brother, we got to get some pictures early this year. We got to get scuba skiing, crochet. Come on, man. We got to do it. Let me know what you think, Uncle Ted. Sorry, he is in the prime time. That's right. Okay. I did see Uncle Ted sign up for the prime time. I know you are a football guy. But again, this is our last football draft of the year. It's NFFC fantasy baseball season. Well, we got basketball coming up. I don't know if you don't draft centers like you don't draft pitchers, Uncle Ted, but it's good to see you in here, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you for joining our prime time.
Yes. And thank you for trolling the round 5 Ricky Pearsall pick there. That's good. All right. So we did see JJ McCarthy go as the number 2 for team 4. I think that, I like that as an upside number 2 quarterback there with Baker, a guy with, like McCarthy, I do think is going to use his legs early on here.
Very much so.
So just give you some floor there as your quarterback too. We saw Isaac Garendo go after that. We did see, we ended up passing over in our conversation there, kind of the back end of round 14 as well. We saw our first defense go. Team 10 took the Broncos defense. My Broncos, that's my AFC team since I live just outside of Denver. So when I wear my Bear stuff and the game's over and I got to go Broncos, I just cross off the E and the A and the R.
Colors are similar.
I put a Ronco in there and I got Broncos now instead of Bears. Same colors.
And you have like a half and half Jay Cutler jersey.
That's right. Am I smoking Jay Cutler Halloween costume? Yep.
Real quick, pointing out the high upside tight end. We were wondering what Team 1 was going to do, and I mentioned Brenton Strange to him earlier, and that's the guy he ended up taking. And again, I've watched Chad draft for a long time. That was a pick that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yep. Some other guys we missed there. DJ again. So Team 9, we talked about Travion Henderson, RJ Henry, Quinshawn Junkins, DJ Giddens, Jaden Blue. Just give him all of the rookie running backs. Just again taking a lot of shots there.
And again, I like it. Again, Giddens seems like he's
clear number 2.
Clear number 2.
Yeah.
He's a Jonathan Taylor leg bending the wrong way from being the man there for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Blue, you've seen Sanders fumble the football. As even with the 2 touchdowns, I don't think Javonte Williams looked like anything special. I want to be surprised by the end of the year if Blue is, getting half the carries or more in Dallas.
Yep, I'm right there with you. We saw the Ravens defense be the second one off the board there towards the end of round 15, and then the Steelers defense being the number 3 defense off the board. So at those, the defense kicker, you always wonder like when those runs are going to start. We saw the Cowboys kicker go in the end of round 13, and then no kicker off the board again until just this round. 2 picks ago, we saw the Chiefs kicker and then Los Angeles Chargers team kicker. So I'm guessing, we can't put myself in his shoes, but Team 2 probably feeling like, all right, I guess I reached on my kicker at least around there, but maybe
he got a good one. But yes. And I'll bring up real quick, just NFFC rules require you to draft a kicker and a defense, and obviously we've reached the point where the season starts tomorrow, so there's not much value in not selecting a kicker or a defense and then picking one up before the game start. But NFFC rules require that you end the draft with the full complete roster.
Yep, I like that. And then so we saw Team 1 take Chris Rodriguez there on that turn with Brenton Strange as well.
And we talked about high upside backs. Man, Mitchell, Shipley, Rodriguez, 3 guys that probably are going to be in the waiver wire in 6 weeks, but at the same time, they're an injury away. They're a good game away from taking some significant snaps for their team.
And we have to point out Team 9 just took their first tight end of the draft in round 16, Chigakonkwo. And we're at the point now, round 16, he's only got 3 picks left. And to your point, still needs a kicker and still needs a defense. So just one more pick to come at a skill position. You wouldn't expect him to go quarterback with May and Lawrence. It's been at this point, I'm sure there's still some rookie running backs out there, but to add to that rookie running back stable, but I wouldn't anticipate wide receiver, just given 4 of his first 5 picks and 5 of his first 7 were wide receivers. So we probably see a tight end again.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Who's left here? I talked about Fannin as a high upside guy.
Yeah.
Who else do we got left here?
I think we passed over when Ferguson. Yeah, Ferguson's
gone. Our guy.
Johnny Smith still available. We saw
there.
Freiermuth go
Hunter
here in
Henry.
this round. Hunter Henry, I believe he's got a pretty nice week 1 matchup as well. So that could be a spot to go. Right out the chute. I don't think anybody's taken Isaiah Likely yet.
No, Likely.
He's of course, it's not going to be helpful to you right away. But if Chig doesn't work out, you start him for a couple weeks, and then Isaiah Likely's kind of ready to go there.
But excuse me, we talked about our guy Io Manor, or however the guy who's crazy his name. There's a good chance Chig is the. Again, when we talk about offenses, I talk about how like Seattle, they got a wide range. Nothing would really surprise me. I think Tennessee's kind of in that same area. The coach there was an offensive guy with the Bengals.
Yeah,
I'm a big Cam Ward guy. There's not, for a number 1 overall pick quarterback, there's almost zero hype around him. I talked about how I like Calvin Stephen Ridley earlier, but there's a good chance Chig is the number 2 pass catcher there. And if that offense, it's got to be improved. And again, their offensive line's in the middle, I think.
Yeah.
But if that offense is even a little bit improved and Chig is the number 2 pass catcher there, that's not a bad pick. If you're gonna, I don't know how comfortable I'd feel with him as my tight end number 1. But at this point, I'd rather have Chig than a Freiermuth.
Yes.
I mean, or even a Zach Ertz. Looking at guys that went around him. I think there's a little more upside. I think there's a little more chance that Chig is a bigger part of his respective offense.
Yeah, Chig is like Diet Kyle Pitts for me, because it's like the great athlete who you're like, yep, okay, he just all right, he's coming. It's going to be here. It's going to happen.
This is the year. This is the year.
Yep. So we'll have to see. We had Jalen Noel, the other, we mentioned rookie wide receivers in Houston. Jaden Higgins went at the start of round 10. Jalen Noel here at the start of round 17, with Christian Kirk having gone in the middle there. Very curious to see what that run out ends up looking like. And I mentioned Hunter Henry with that first week one matchup, and that's exactly where he ended up going.
And you got to think with Jake playing the Broncos tomorrow that Henry's the starting tight end on that team.
Yep. So then Raheem Mostert here. So last 2 picks for Team 8. Emmanuel Wilson, Raheem Mostert. And, we mentioned in the early going, he had Josh Jacobs, but then went with McBride, Hurts, and then Metcalf. So just had the one running back through, 5 rounds there. I did actually really like the Tony Pollard pick, with the Tajay Spears injury there in round 6. But then after that, similar to Team 12, where you're just taking shots.
Yeah,
taking shots.
And again, we talked about how the receivers go early. Just looking at this board right now, there's the green, the green at the bottom just stands out to me. There's just running backs aplenty, and odds favor one of these guys is going to be. What would you say? Would you say any of these running backs from round 10 on are a running back 1, high upside running back? Do we get any? I mean, you look at like a Chubb or a Marks or someone in Houston or even the Cleveland situation. Do one of these guys sneak up there and become that? That's the kind of thing that can decide a draft. But I mean, there's no way of knowing really. I mean, it's a gamble at this point, and you just hope. You mentioned how instead of handcuffing your guys, you take other guys as handcuff and hope you hit. And I kind of think that's what people are doing here is just hoping that one of these guys becomes. I'm looking at Kareem Hunt. Hope that Kareem Hunt last year was kind of the guy that snuck up there. Guys like that. I think you just hope that you're getting a running back 2, or maybe even a decent flex option. I think anyone would take one of these green running backs being a decent flex option for them week in and week out.
For sure. When I look at that group, and asking the question, who do you see in there who could be a 1? It's the DJ Giddens is one who stands out that you mentioned.
Very good call.
Taj Brooks is in that, but because he was taken by the team with Chase Brown, there's not that you don't get basically that huge it's an insurance policy as opposed to a way to really jump. And then you've got actually, I just mentioned how much I like the Tony Pollard pick, but Tajay Spears, he's not going to be out all year. No. And if something happens to Pollard, that offensive line is going to be better this year. Cam Ward, I think, is going to make that team better overall. So he actually could be one there because, you look at, all right, you talk Baltimore, Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell are both there. I like Keaton Mitchell, and I think that it was right to have him go ahead of Justice Hill, but that doesn't mean I don't think both of those guys would be involved if something were to happen to Derrick Henry. Emmanuel Wilson, same things. They've got Brooks in that backfield, there in Green Bay. Blake Corum is another one where you mentioned Jarquez Hunter. I think that Hunter could end up, if something happened to Kyron. Now, that's not typically been the MO of Sean McVay. It's usually he's got a guy and he sticks with him. But do you got the right guy with Corum?
Very, very true.
It's tough to say.
And I'll just point out here, Juju Smith-Schuster at the end of round 17. We talked about team 2, how he's going to be missing Rice and Godwin and Kirk this week. I think Smith-Schuster, what you just could have banked points-wise from him for just this week alone, round 1, would have been an interesting pick for him just to get something. And again, Smith-Schuster is going to have a role in this offense now. Well,
and then the follow-up with Jalen Royals, because if it ends up that Xavier Worthy is out for a long time, that does Jalen Royals become a bigger part?
And we talked about Thornton before. I'm kind of surprised that Royals went ahead of Thornton.
Yeah, same.
Just based on what we've seen in the game on Thursday alone.
And then we just saw C.J. Stroud. That's really late for C.J. Stroud. As far as it's hard to get real fire. You're not going to hear people screaming for it like they did.
There was no C.J. Stroud.
But to get C.J. Stroud at end of round 17 there, as I don't even know which quarterback off the board, but very late. I think that's value. Jordan Love, I'm actually surprised he's going this late as well. But that tends to happen, right? It's like you get those first quarterbacks, then there's a lull, then everybody else gets their quarterback one. A couple people take the quarterback too quickly, and then at that point, everyone's like, well, I don't give it. The guys I was going to get anyway are now like my QB 16 through 22. So then they really end up waiting.
And to me, there's not much of a difference between Stroud and Love. They're pretty,
Mhm.
I don't have much of a difference. You look at even the other guys that have gone, McCarthy, you mentioned your Fields.
Mhm.
But again, I'd much rather, again, not knocking anyone's picks here, but I'd much rather take a end of 17th round CJ Stroud than end of 14th Justin Fields, or even where you look where Goff and Purdy and Caleb Williams went up there. Yeah. There's not that big of a difference between those guys to me. And again, we're talking about there's a good chance that 90% of these 13, 14, 15, 16th round picks don't mean anything.
Yeah.
But if you missed on one of those guys, if the potential to get one of those guys, and the difference between a Goff and a Stroud to me isn't that big.
Yeah. And then there goes Tua. We got that same group here. I want to note here we're on the home stretch, so we've got a round and a half to go, and now to 814 viewers. I love this. Uncle Ted was spamming us after we. I told we're not going to be able to get through all of this.
Uncle Ted is a YouTube commenting Hall of Famer. Did he say anything about pitching? That's what we got. That's what I got to see.
We did see. So he liked the Isaiah Likely there. Talking Mims, we're not gonna get through all these. Luke McCaffrey, thank me later. He says
Team 3 is the best from Uncle Ted.
Okay.
If you're gonna be on YouTube, if you're gonna be doing YouTube streams, you gotta familiarize yourself with Uncle Ted.
Yeah, you gotta be ready to take a stand and do some trolling. Yes, when the time arises. So 3 quarterbacks now in the first half of round 18. And so and that's actually, so Bryce Young is actually QB3, 7. Interesting, Dak being one of them, you're going to start one of the other guys. I'll be curious, Caleb or Bryce Young. I would assume Caleb, given the discrepancies in rounds there, but we'll see. Tua is the quarterback 2 for the team with Bo Nix. But of course, we talked about where Nix was drafted, and we didn't maybe think he had to take him there. It might have come back around, but clearly you want to get your guy, and Bo Nix was his guy. So, waiting a while, with Tua, you just hope that Tua is healthy when Bo Nix's week 12 bye comes up. What else we got? Yeah, Lamar. So what the Lamar owner did is much more sort of typical to how I would draft if that's, if I have an Allen or a Jackson, an Allen Jackson. I'm not a country music guy, but
come on, it's about to be 5 o'clock somewhere here in Vegas.
You're on number 2. It's been 5 o'clock for hours.
Yeah.
No, but as opposed to like the Allen Goff setup. Now I get it. I mean, when $20,000 on the line, every week matters. I mean, every week matters regardless of how much is on the line. So, if you feel like, all right, I want that guy because of his matchup that week, all right, tip of the cap. And all these guys know way more about this. They've been doing this a long time.
Yes,
so,
sir. Yes, sir.
This is just kind of our off the cuff reactions to it. But Michael Penix going there at the very end of round 18 now. A team, I've been surprised that he hasn't actually gotten steamed up a little bit more, just because of that defense being so poor.
And again, London going round 1. Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly with you. I have a lot of Penix on my waiting teams. Okay, I don't mean to cut you off but here we got to play the game. I've been playing in these draft rooms again. We got team kicker, so let's see how good you are. I know the answer to all these because I've been playing it in the room. I think I got a half. So we know the Chiefs kicker. We know the Chargers kicker.
Yeah, I'm looking quick. We got Chiefs, Chargers, Texans, Jags, Denver, and Cowboys. So about over half teams have.
So who is the Houston kicker?
Fairbairn?
Fairbairn, very good.
Yep.
The Jacksonville kicker?
Oh, the dude that hit the 70-yarder? Oh.
Yeah. See, this is the game I play when I do these drafts in the room. I got to try and guess who the kicker is.
Embarrass me now.
No.
On live YouTube.
I believe it's Little. Is that correct?
Cam Little? Some of the
It's something Little. Okay.
Yep.
How about Denver kicker? I guess McManus for the record. My first guess was McManus.
Oh God. My Broncos. I don't know the kicker for my Broncos. Oh no.
I'm not trying to embarrass you, but this is just like the game I like to play with the team kicker.
And I play I only play in one league that uses kickers in defense now.
So there you go. Yeah. So and it seems like they change every year,
right?
So the Denver kicker, He was New Orleans kicker. There's your hint. Will Lutz.
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 Okay, yeah.
So now anytime a kicker gets taken, we gotta see
All
if
right.
you can guess who it is.
God,
That's
I'm
again
ashamed.
not trying to.
I'm gonna do the walk of shame down this hallway.
I think I was a little under 50% on my first draft of the weekend when I tried to guess, but it's a fun game to play.
Well, and I'll tell you, I really like that Team 11 last pick, Isaiah Likely. Of course, with Brock Bowers, you're not anticipating ever using him, but I mean that's a hell of a chip injury to have.
And again, how we mentioned blocking other teams from having him when he gets back, he's not going to be there. Again, team number 12 collecting those running backs. Sean Tucker, another upside type guy. We mentioned Jarquez Hunter a couple times on this.
Yeah, and he's got Corum there too. So now he's
very good point.
He's got all that leverage on team 2 there with his Kyron Williams second round pick.
All right, Washington team kicker. I don't even know who this is. We're gonna have to Google this. The Commanders team kicker. Do you know who the Joey Sly still?
Oh my gosh.
Is that even a thing?
I don't know.
I'm sure
Siri who all these kickers
are.
I'm
sure the chat is letting us know. Matt Gay, Commanders kicker Matt Gay. You knew that one? You did? Okay, hang on. We're gonna have to ask
it was Cam Little. At least I had the Cam right.
Okay, get it Cam Little. Okay, yeah. Uncle Ted is a kicker expert. Okay, Rourke, here we got some more coming for you. Rourke, who is the oh no, those are defenses that are being taken.
Yep. Yeah, Rams, Patriots, Texans. Where's Texans defense ADP? I feel like
they've been going up there a little more.
Yeah,
this is late for them.
That's what I was gonna say. I was surprised again. I've gotten rid of defense and kicker pretty much everywhere but one that I don't have control of. So Texans defense is ADP 6 for NFFC, and they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Wow, very interesting.
Yeah, so that's a lot of value. The team that really jumped up, I think, looks like the 49ers there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the 49ers, not that much. So never mind, they're 8th.
The Bengals one is interesting to me right there. They're a team that I haven't seen selected very much, but I'm guessing that has 100%
24.
And I'm guessing that 100% has to do with the matchup with the Browns tomorrow. They're gonna just rip, they're gonna start them against the Browns and then drop them.
100%. Yeah, I like roll. If you're gonna play team defense, I usually in that build. Typically, I would end up with 2 defenses. I'd have my week 1 and my week 2 ready to go.
Yeah.
And then, kind of go from there, just kind of based on what we see at that point.
Sure, yeah.
And then try to always, you basically, of course, hope that you sort of fall into a defense that's better than what everybody expected. And then they're kind of your starter as opposed to having a stream.
Always matchup based for me. And again, the Bengals. Okay.
We did have Thornton go. Taekwon Thornton.
There he goes. Okay. Yep. Lions team kicker. Who's the Lions? Rourke, who's the Lions kicker?
Lions kicker.
He got it. Jake Bates. That is correct. Man, we got a kicking expert.
He has his own hotel, I heard.
Yeah. Do you want to come sit over here with us? You should be on.
Oh, we do actually have one more round to go. Sorry, I just had to scroll. So we do still have one more.
We got one more round to go, folks. Exciting stuff to come.
I'll bet. We'll see. Well, so now everybody, team 3 still needs a kicker.
Okay.
No, a defense. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Team 3 and team 8.
There's more
both
kickers.
Need defenses.
Okay. Tampa Bay kicker. Oh, we stumped him. Oh no, we didn't. Correct. It is McLaughlin. Again, I didn't know any of these until I got here this weekend.
All right, there's a lot of yelling going on in there now.
Yeah, again, the last picks of our live events here. This is
and thank you. We're at 829 people in here watching. That's just awesome. 2 defense, what? That's like having 2 kickers. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but I don't necessarily like to keep 2 defenses, but I like to start with 2. So I have my week 1 set, my week 2 set, and I hope that one of those 2 ends up kind of out overperforming, and then that's the one I stick with. And if neither of them do, then it's you're playing defense roulette matchups, and that's okay.
No, that makes sense.
And I'm that's. To teach their own on that. It's not like all year round I'm going to have 2 defenses, though. I'm definitely not going to roster that. I'm never a 2 kicker guy. I'm always doing the matchups on the kicker. But yeah, I have done that on defense before. Maybe that's why I've gotten rid of defense in all my leagues, is because I was doing it wrong and I just got sick of it. But yeah, here, I mean, we're seeing here, team 2 just did. They have 3 defenses. Yeah, wow. with Baltimore, Detroit, and the Chargers. I mean, I keep wanting to sing San Diego Superchargers, and I can't.
We talked about it in the draft. All these teams, the Raiders have, throughout our lifetime, how many times have the Raiders moved? But I still call them Los Angeles.
Yeah,
the Rams
they're Oakland to me.
But it will always be the San Diego Chargers to me. I don't think there'll ever be a day where
Yep.
correctly announce that team.
No, I'm with you there. Yep.
All right, Steelers kicker. Boswell,
Yeah,
okay.
I think I did know that.
49ers kicker. Man, we have a
Jake Moody.
we have a kicking expert with us, folks.
Trey Harris goes late. We should. The better game is just name kickers you do know, and I would have like 6.
Yeah.
Be like Kevin Butler, everybody. Kevin Butler.
Still the best.
My
My favorite still Janikowski, the kicker that got arrested
Seabass?
for disorderly conduct.
Yeah.
That's what a kicker should be.
Hey, we are in Raider country.
Yeah.
Now.
First round.
Maybe we'll run into
kicker.
Seabass tonight.
I'm sure he's at the tables right now waiting for us.
All right, final 4. A.D. Mitchell. Okay. Let's see. Let's see how many quarterbacks in total. I don't know that we can actually see that in here.
They're mostly taken. I mean,
well, what I was going to say is I'd be curious if somebody rolls the dice on an Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. No, I don't think at this point you'll see. I mean, possibly, but I mean that's
just
tough
because
hold.
It's a very tough hold. But one of those guys that you gotta, you don't like watching him play because it's, he can't throw the ball, can't hit the broadside of the barn.
If he's in there,
he's going to be a top 5 just because of his legs.
No doubt about it. All right, we got one last pick, and it's going to be a kicker.
It does. Yeah, you're right. It has to be.
Oh, here we go. I don't think anyone knows who is the Ravens kicker now.
Yeah,
Loop.
No,
he's making that up. He could say anything. Well, we knew it.
Yes.
Yeah, you could have said anything, and we're gonna believe
it.
We'll give it to you.
All right, so that's the end here. I just want to look real quick. So Team 12 ended up with just the one quarterback, which I'm totally fine with in this. And Justin Herbert is solid as he looked in that first game. Did anybody up Team 8's Jalen Hurts just the one quarterback? And I think that is it for one quarterback teams.
That is correct.
Yep. So I don't mind that at all. And it's, especially with a higher end guys that Herbert surprises me a little bit, frankly, but not after what we saw last night as much. But yeah, I would, the Jackson, the Allen, the Daniels, and the Hurts would have been the 4 that if you had told me a couple of teams only have one quarterback, it'd be one of those guys. Let's see. I'm looking for any other real surprises here. So everybody, it seems, has 2. Oh no, there's a 1 tight end team. Team 4 only has David Njoku. Wow. So not going to roll the dice on somebody. So if but Fannin is still around.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Our guy Fannin.
Yeah. So if week 1, if Fannin's a big deal and Njoku's a bust week 1, I know where the fab money's going. Going there. Let's see. Everybody else looks like they've got 2. Bowers and Likely, Kraft and Laporta. So yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like any huge surprises?
Honestly, I think the surprise to me is what we kind of talked about earlier. Is there wasn't a lot of jumping of guys. I think you can argue the Tet McMillan is one that stuck out, and I know there was a comment about that.
Yeah, but
for the most part, there was no one that really jumped. I mentioned I look like a complete dummy because I said, these guys are going to jump guys. You're going to see guys going. But honestly, it really didn't go too differently than most of the drafts here that did this weekend.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I cannot thank you first off enough for being here with me to do this. We are at the 2 hour and 1 minute mark. Still 832 people around. So we either put a lot of people to sleep and this will be on for hours and hours yet, even after we sign off, or we had folks enjoying it, sticking around. So I really appreciate you, and of course Tom and Greg, and for hosting this. Hey, great job. Appreciate you. Just a ton of fun. For those of you out here watching, I know some of you were here. Appreciate having you here. Some of you watching maybe be out here in Vegas with us next year.
Oh, come join us. Come join us. It's a great time.
Yeah, but I think we're going to have to do more of this because this is a lot of fun.
This was a lot of fun. And to our Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Alan Jackson, it's 5 o'clock somewhere for us out here in Vegas, folks.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. Let's call it a night.
Let's call it a night.